what happens to me. No matter how bad I am, it's not your turn to laugh at my joke. Yuan Huilan suppressed her sadness, cheered herself up, pinned Lin Mannion to the ground, and beat her up. After the fight, Yuan Huilan tidied her clothes and glanced at Lu Yi and the others with a complicated look. She said nothing and went into the house. Lin Mannion lay on the ground groaning, tears streaming down her face. She was beaten twice in one night. She was the most pitiful person in the world. She didn't know when her son would be able to make a contribution. She couldn't stay in this shabby place for another day. The Jiefeng and Aid Korea asked me to tell you that their abilities are limited. They can't even win the third-class merit, let alone the second-class merit. They asked Aunt Lin to reform well on the farm and not to always try to take shortcuts. In addition, the Jiefeng and Aid Korea also asked you to send some malted milk and milk powder. They are suffering a lot on the border and are all skinny from hunger. Ruan Chichi squatted down and conveyed Brother Lu Jiefeng's intention. The things to be sent later were added by her impromptu. After Lin Mannion heard this, her expression became gloomy, her eyes were dull, and she cried even more sadly. My life is so miserable. Ruan Chichi ignored her and got up and went back to Lu Disheng. Lu Disheng had just had a tantrum and his appetite returned. He ate all the food on the table and washed the dishes. He took a handful of mugwort and started fumigating every corner of the room. Thick smoke filled the room. Cough, cough, cough. Ruan Chichi walked into the room. She was smoked out. You guys go back. Lu Disheng was also fumigated to the point of tears. He covered his mouth and nose with one hand and used the other hand to hold a handful of dry wormwood for fumigation. The mosquitoes in the mountains were very poisonous, and their suckers could penetrate the tent to suck blood. Every morning when he woke up, his arms, which were next to the tent, were covered with mosquito bites and were extremely itchy. Therefore, you must drive away mosquitoes before going to bed so that you can sleep well. Dad, light the mosquito coils. Ruan Chichi took out a large bag of mosquito coils. She opened the package and found that it was similar to the current mosquito coils. She lit 2 plates of mosquito coils in the room, and then she and Lu Yi returned to the city. What Lin Mannion said before was not wrong. On the way home, Ruan Chichi suddenly sighed. What did she curse? Lu Yi didn't react for a moment. It is said that your mother is just like her. In essence, she relies on men. Your mother is indeed that kind of person. Ruan Chichi said. No matter what kind of person she is, it has nothing to do with us. Lu Yi sneered, his tone cold. Yes, let's live our own lives and ignore them. Ruan Chichi agreed very much. Yuan Huilan had Mo Chiofeng to take care of her, and now she had Zhang Jigua. She was living a good life and didn't need her and Lu Ye's concern at all. Lu Yi, who was riding in front, suddenly stopped, parked the car, and climbed up the hillside beside the road. After a while, he came back with a bundle of branches and said happily, This fruit is delicious, sweet, and can fill your stomach. When I was a child, I liked July and August the most. There were so many fruits in the mountains that I never went hungry. Ruan Chichi recognized it at the first sight. It was the black rice fruit. It was indeed a good thing, but it became less and less common in the mountains in later generations. Black rice fruit tastes like strawberry, very delicious. Go dig one and plant it in the space. Ruan Chichi picked up a handful of fruits and put them into her mouth. They were sweet, sticky, and delicious. Lu Yi obediently went to dig up the black rice fruit trees. He dug up 2 and planted them in the space before coming out. We returned to the compound. It was already dark, but the downstairs of the family building was very lively. The children were playing games, and the adults were chatting in groups of 3 or 4. Deputy Captain Liu, Sister Wan is back. Wang Suehua had sharp eyes and her face was immediately filled with an attentive smile as she greeted loudly. Ruan Chichi smiled and nodded at the women. Political Commissar Mo's daughter came to see you before, but she went back before she could get you. Wang Shuhua said. I saw her, too. She's a pretty girl and looks a bit like Deputy Captain Liu. I heard she's studying at Beijing University. That's amazing, Lu Danny said with envy. Louis frowned slightly. He didn't want to meet Mo Heping at all. Moreover, he now felt that Imo Hepping was like a weasel paying a New Year's visit to a chicken, and he definitely had no good intentions.
New.
Wan Chichi smiled. She could probably guess Imo Hepping's intention. After all, Lu Yi was quite promising now. Imo Hepping was reluctant to part with such a powerful helper like Lu Yi, so naturally, he wanted to have a good relationship with him. Sister Wan, the fish is ready. Wang Shuhua ran back home and came back with a jar of cumi fish. Wan Chichi asked her to make it. I followed your instructions, but the taste seems wrong. It's different from yours. Lu Danny is from northeast China and had never seen cumi fish before. Wang Shuhua gave her some. After eating it, she fell in love with it and learned to make it herself. However, what she made was never as delicious as Wang Shuhua's. Let me smell what you did. Lu Danny wanted to see what the freshly pickled fish tasted like, so Wan Chichi opened the lid and let her smell it. As soon as the lid was opened, a spicy and fishy smell rushed out. Lu Danny took a deep breath and asked suspiciously, "This is the smell. Why is mine not as delicious as yours, Shuhua? Did you put the seasoning wrong?" Wang Shuhua had just finished asking. Vomit. Sang Qingfeng covered her mouth and rushed to the toilet. She came back after a long time with a pale face. "What's wrong with you?" everyone asked with concern. "Nothing. My stomach has been feeling uncomfortable these days. I'll get some medicine later." Sang Qingfeng covered her mouth and dry-heaved a few times. Her stomach felt uncomfortable and she had no strength left. "You'd better go to the hospital and don't take any medicine randomly," someone advised. "You don't have a stomach problem, it's more like..." Haha. Wang Suihua was halfway through her speech when she remembered that Sang Qingfeng was a barren woman. She quickly stopped and laughed dryly a few times. Everyone looked at her reproachfully. They knew clearly that Sang Qingfeng couldn't have children, yet they still poked her in the heart. How tactless. Sang Qingfeng also understood, and she felt a little bitter. It would be great if she was really pregnant, but she was a barren woman, and even a cast iron tree could bloom, but she couldn't give birth to a child. Wan Chichi was thoughtful. She thought of Sang Qingfeng's ex-husband's son who was only 8 months old. Then he said, "Let me feel your pulse." "Sister Wan, can you also take a pulse?" Lu Sanmei asked curiously. "Look at what you said." Sister Wan knows half of what's in heaven and everything on earth. What can't she do? The strongest flatterer, Wang Suihua, immediately came online, confronted him harshly, and smiled ingratiatingly at Wan Chichi. Everyone curled their lips in disdain for Wang Suihua's arrogance. "It's just that she can cook some delicious food. What's so great about that?" Later, they will also research some delicious food and send it to Wan Chichi to earn some extra money. Wan Chichi took Sang Qingfeng's pulse seriously and then asked in her ear, "How long has it been since you had your period?" "A month?" Sang Qingfeng couldn't remember clearly. Her period had never been regular. "Go to the obstetrics and gynecology department of the hospital and don't take random medicines." Wan Chichi's tone was very serious, and it was most likely that she was pregnant. Therefore, the one who was truly infertile was Sang Qingfeng's ex-husband. I. What disease do I have?" Sang Qingfeng hadn't reacted yet and was a little confused. "You are silly. You are pregnant. I will take you to the hospital for a checkup tomorrow." Wang Suihua was even more excited than Sang Qingfeng. "Impossible. I checked, and I can't have a baby." Sang Qingfeng's mind was in a mess, her heart was bewildered, and she was a little panicked. Captain Su married her because she couldn't have children. What if she really got pregnant? Would Captain Su think she was a marriage fraud and want to divorce her? Some hospitals' examinations are not accurate. You will know the results tomorrow when you go to the hospital for a checkup. Having a child is a great joy. Captain Su will definitely be happy. Wang Shuhua saw her panic and comforted her softly. Sang Qingfeng felt a little relieved, and then she was happy again. If only she was really pregnant, it would be great. She dreamed of having a biological child, whether it was a boy or a girl, and she would definitely love this child with all her heart. She will not be mean to the first 2 children. She will do her best to take care of them and do things according to her conscience. The next morning, Wan Chichi, was awakened by a knock on the door. Third brother, third sister-in-law, I am Mo Hepping. Annoyed, Wan Chichi kicked Lu Yi off the bed, asked him to go and greet them, and continued to sleep herself. Half an hour later, Lu Yi sent Mo Hepping away and casually placed a bag of Beijing specialties on the table. After washing up, he went to the cafeteria to have breakfast and brought back one for his wife. Wan Chichi, answer the phone. Someone called downstairs. Wan Chichi was drinking mung bean soup. She drank all the mung bean soup in the bowl and then went downstairs to answer the phone. The caller was Guan Jihua. Chichi, Manzi had a fever for 2 days. He woke up today, but he didn't recognize us. He only remembered you and Xiaoya. Can you and Xiaoya come to see him? Guan Jihua's voice was a little hoarse, and he sounded very tired. The third update is finished. Black rice fruit was my favorite when I was a child. I haven't eaten it for a long time. It is rare in the mountains now. When I was a child, I would run to the mountains to find black rice fruit as soon as the summer vacation came. I would run all over the mountains. Children nowadays probably don't have many such experiences. We're coming over now. Wan Chichi hung up the phone. She called upstairs. Come down. Here it comes. Lu Yesheng arrived and jumped down from the 3rd floor, landing steadily in front of Wan Chichi. The men and women in the family building were extremely envious. The men envied Lu Ye's skills. The women envied Wan Chichi's prestige at home, and they also wanted their husbands to be as obedient as Lu Yi, but unfortunately they didn't have the ability to do so. Wow, Uncle Lu is so awesome. The Gao family's brother and sister lay on the balcony and shouted, looking at Lu Yi with admiration. Your father is pretty awesome too. Gao Shangjin said sourly from the side. Although he couldn't compare to Lu Ye's ability to climb walls and run on rooftops, he could still jump up and down. Yes, Dad is great too. My daughter is a caring and thoughtful person, and she praised me in a particularly supportive manner. Yes, Dad is awesome. My son's praise was perfunctory. Gao Shangjin glanced at his son angrily, then smiled at his daughter. Dad has gone to work. You and your brother should be good at home. When Dad rests, I will take you to the department store to buy dolls. Okay, bye, Dad. The little girl nodded obediently, stood on tiptoes, and kissed her father on the face. Gao Shangjin's heart melted, and he floated down from the 3rd floor as if he was walking on clouds. He even decided to use his hard-earned private money to buy the most expensive doll for his daughter. Such a good daughter of his deserves to play with the most expensive doll. But he didn't know that as soon as he left the house, his lovely and caring daughter dragged out a box from under the bed. After opening the box, she found all kinds of bones inside, all of which had been cleaned up. In the box, with each bone labeled in great detail. It was drawn by Leah's father himself as a birthday gift for his precious granddaughter. The radius is here, the humerus is here, and there are 24 ribs. Little girl was having a lot of fun playing with the bones while referring to the picture book, just like playing with building blocks. Her brother was reading a book in the next room. He was reading 36 Strategies with great interest. Wan Chichi and Lu Yi rushed to the Lu family. Manzai was in his room. Guan Jihua told Grandpa Lu what had happened in the past few days. After catching a Japanese soldier in the hotel, Manzai fell in love with this game and often ran out to catch Japanese soldiers. He caught 2 more these days. He said that the Japanese soldiers had a bad smell and he could smell it. Guan Jihua's tone was both proud and annoyed. She was proud of her son's bravery and intelligence, but also annoyed that she did not stop her son, which led to Manzai becoming what he is now. Did Manzai get a fever after capturing 2 Japanese devils? Wan Chichi asked. Yes, actually, Manzai changed a little after he caught the little Japanese in the hotel. He remembered what happened during the 3 days of being interrogated alone, but only fragments. I guess it might be the little Japanese who stimulated him and reminded him of that painful memory, which led to Manzai's memory disorder, and he didn't recognize us, but he remembered you and said he wanted to see you. Guan Jihua was talking about the doctor's diagnosis, and the doctor said it was good progress, and maybe Manzai could recover to normal. But it is also possible that Manzi can neither recover nor return to his original state, and will always remain like this. Let's go see Manzai. Wan Qiqi and Lu Yi went upstairs. The door of Manzai's room was closed. She knocked gently a few times. Manzai, this is Qiqi, and here is Ye. The door opened quickly, and Manzai stood at the door. His appearance had not changed, but his eyes and temperament were completely different. Used to have clear eyes and a simple and honest temperament, but now he has deep eyes and a cold temperament. However, when he saw Wan Qiqi and Lu Yi, his eyes suddenly became kind. You have to call me Daddy. Don't be disrespectful. Manzai lectured them in a condescending manner, dragged them into the house, and closed the door. He looked extremely alert, as if he were meeting underground workers. Guan Jihua and Mr. Lu were locked outside the door. They looked at each other helplessly and couldn't help laughing. The birth of 2 wonderful grandchildren is such a great joy. Qiqi, yeah. Dad is being watched by the Japanese now. It's very dangerous. Don't come to see me anymore. Be careful. Manzai's expression was extremely serious and his tone was solemn. Wan Qiqi puffed out her cheeks and held her breath. Lu Yi clenched his fists several times, wanting to hit someone. What's your code name? Wan Qiqi asked curiously. I can't tell you, it's a secret. Manzai looked mysterious and asked them to leave quickly and find a safe place to hide. Your previous code name was Daddy, and we are your comrades. Now that your code name Daddy has been exposed, you will be called Manzi from now on, and I am your superior Qiqi. From now on, you will obey my command. Remember? Wan Qiqi spoke in a serious tone, as if it was a matter of fact. Yes, Comrade Manzai. Lu Yi tried his best to agree. Manzai's memory was already confused, and after being messed up by the 2 of them, his eyes became confused again. Some fragments flashed through his mind, and he murmured, I am Manzai. Where is Mama Jiang? Oh my! Mama Jiang's dog had appeared at the right time, wagging its tail excitedly. Its owner finally remembered it. Manzai hugged Mama Jiang and kissed her a few times. More and more fragments flashed through his mind. They were all memories of him playing with Wan Qiqi and Lu Yi, as well as with his parents. His cold aura gradually dissipated, and he became clear and honest again. But Wan Qiqi knew that a different Manzai was living inside Manzai. That Manzai was calm and intelligent, but he had too little energy to fully control his body, so he only appeared for a short time. That's right, Manzai has split into another personality. To be precise, there are 3 personalities in his body. The main personality is the honest Manzai now. The second personality is Lu Yuanfei, a calm and intelligent underground worker. The third personality is the weak Manzai who is trapped in painful memories. The first 2 personalities don't like this Manzai, so he rarely appears. Seeing their son return to normal, the old couple breathed a sigh of relief and thanked Wan Qiqi and Lu Yi. Wan Qiqi did not tell anyone that Manzai had 3 personalities. She had not figured it out yet, and would tell them after she had studied it clearly. Time passed quickly, and the dog days of summer finally ended. At the end of August, there was an autumn rain, and the weather became much cooler. Wan Qiqi was not idle during this period. She went out with Manzi to capture many enemy spies. Her ranking rose steadily, and she has climbed to 3rd place. The first is Tyrannosaurus. Pei Yuan called and asked Wan Qiqi to get the admission letter and report in September. Electrical automation? Wan Qiqi took a look and found that Pei Yuan had arranged for her to study electrical automation. All other majors are full. You just need to go through the motions. Your grades don't matter. Pei Yuan thought she didn't like this major, so he comforted her. I'm such a smart person. How could I have bad grades? Wan Qiqi rolled her eyes. She was an extremely smart Wan Qiqi. It was just electrical automation. She would definitely be able to learn it well. You will definitely learn well. I have confidence in you. Take a good rest and recharge your energy now that school has started. Pei Yuan smiled kindly.
Gone.
Wan Qiqi stuffed the notice into her bag, waved goodbye, and left. He also took away a few new cakes that Ding Yi was researching and naturally left a bag of tea. Ding Yi's supernatural powers have recovered halfway. At this rate, he will be able to fully recover by the end of the year and continue to carry out missions. Wan Chichi rode her bike slowly back to the compound. When she passed by a small alley, she heard sounds of beating and scolding. The door of an independent house was wide open, and a lot of people were crowded in the yard. They were all extremely excited, as if they had hyperthyroidism. These people carried out a box of books, all of which were banned books at the time. "You unrepentant old jerk, you actually hid so much. Beat him up." Shi Jinghong's scolding could be heard, followed by sounds of beating and groaning. Wan Chichi frowned. She had completely forgotten about this guy. Mo Jinsong hasn't taken any action yet, which makes Shi Jinghong jump so happily. "Oops, there's a hornet's nest." Wan Chichi screamed and threw out a hornet's nest. This hornet's nest was brought back by Mama Jiang, who thought it was fun and brought it back excitedly to show off its treasure. If she hadn't reacted quickly and put the hornet's nest into the space, she and Manzai would have been bitten all over the head. Mama Jiang's dog's head was stung by a wasp and turned into a pig's head. It was swollen for several days and was so cute and ugly. This group of hornets lived well in the space. They built a nest and gave birth to many cubs. The hornet's nest rolled a few times on the ground, and a group of angry hornets flew out, buzzing towards Shi Jinghong and the others. Screams continued incessantly, and Shi Jinghong and others fled in all directions. However, the yard was so small that the hornets could find them no matter where they fled. Soon, the group of people were all bitten on the head, and Shi Jinghong was bitten the worst. Because Wan Chichi took advantage of the chaos to smear some honey from a hornet's nest on his body, the hornets thought he was a nest thief and kept chasing him and biting him.
Ouch.
Oh my god. Ouch. Jinghong, whose face was unrecognizable, was lying on the ground groaning and looked very bad. His men felt a little better and, enduring the pain, carried Shi Jinghong to the hospital. The yard was suddenly empty. The beaten owner climbed up from the ground and looked around in confusion. His face had just been covered by a piece of cloth, and he was not bitten. All the hornets in the yard were gone, all collected by Wan Chichi into the space. She also left quietly and never showed up from beginning to end. Wan Chichi didn't know that Shi Jinghong had just been rescued and was pushed into the ward for recuperation. Before he could even get warm in the bed, he was taken away on charges of corruption, bribery, and disregard for human life. It was the evidence that Mo Jinsong found. It took him a lot of effort to gather enough evidence to bring down Shi Jinghong. Shi Dahong and he are irreconcilable, so he has to kick away the stumbling block, and no one can stop him from climbing up. 2 days before school started, Wan Chichi received the news that Shi Jinghong had died in the cell. Among the people imprisoned with him, 2 were people Shi Jinghong had bullied before. They hated him so much that they had an argument while using the toilet. The 2 pushed Shi Jinghong into the urine bucket and drowned him. Lui told the news he had heard that the arrogant Shi Jinghong died in an undignified way. He was pushed into a urine bucket by his cellmates and drowned. This way of death suits him very well. What happened to those 2 people who acted as justice? Wan Chichi asked with concern. The next day, he was transferred to a farm in Guangdong province for transformation. It must have been Mo Jinsong's doing.
Lui said.
Mo Jinsong's father-in-law used to work in the Guangdong provincial military region and had many connections there, so it was not difficult to transfer 2 prisoners to the farm. Shi Dahong is going to be so angry that he will die, right? Wan Chichi looked interested. Although Mo Jinsong was not a very good person, he did a good job. I heard that Shi Dahong broke 2 cups. Lui smiled and said, but Shi Dahong should be fine. He and Commander Yang are brothers-in-law and have a very good relationship. As long as there are no issues of principle, Commander Yang will definitely protect him. If something happens to Shi Dahong, will Commander Yang vent his anger on Mo Jinsong? Wan Chichi came up with an idea to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I think so. Commander Yang cares a lot about his reputation and is a bit protective of his subordinates. Besides, he has an average relationship with Uncle Mo. Lui said. Wan Chichi knew what was going on and took out the little notebook. Mo Jinsong will definitely not deal with Shi Dahong. He killed Shi Jinghong just to remind Shi Dahong not to go against him. Otherwise, it will be a disaster for everyone. Shi Dahong is a smart man. He must have understood it. Let's add fuel to the fire.
How to add?
Lu Yi asked excitedly. He really enjoyed making things difficult for Mo Jinsong. Everything will be calm in a few days. Let's hand in this little notebook in Mo Jinsong's name. Shi Dahong will definitely have to go in for tea. If anything happens to him in there. Wan Qiqi squinted her eyes and didn't say anything else, but Lu Yi understood. Just a small notebook is not enough. I'll go check Shi Dahong's dirt. He's a very good pretender, and he must have done a lot of bad things. Go ahead. Even if there is no dirt on him, make some up. He was the one who caused Shi Jinghong to harm so many people. Wan Qiqi has no guilty conscience at all. How can someone who can go along with Shi Jinghong be a good person? Don't worry. Lu Yi patted his chest and assured that he was very good at doing this kind of thing, especially creating trouble for Mo Jinsong. He was very motivated. Qiqi, you're living on campus now. What should I do? Lu Yi suddenly remembered a fatal thing and became depressed. I can take a day and a half off every week. Every week is like a new marriage. How wonderful! Wan Qiqi didn't think it was a big deal and was looking forward to her future university life. She didn't have the chance to go to college in her previous life, but she made up for it in this life and was able to experience a university campus in the 1970s. Lu Yi's eyes lit up. It sounded like a very good idea. Then I'll be responsible for the pickup. Lu Yi volunteered to take the initiative to experience picking up and dropping off the kid to school in advance. Wan Qiqi agreed. Since the man was eager to show his affection, she definitely couldn't refuse. Otherwise, he wouldn't do it next time. Before school started, Wan Qiqi was very busy. She was busy comforting Lu Yi and cooking. Everything existed in the space. Even if the food in the school cafeteria was not delicious, she would not starve. Lu Yi was also busy, looking for dirt on Shi Dahong. Now his ability to gather information has become more and more powerful, and he can obtain more detailed and older information from the water. I thought Shi Dahong was just accepting benefits, but upon investigation, I found that accepting benefits was just a trivial black material of this guy. Shi Dahong had a very deep secret, and everyone who knew his secret was dead. By Shi Dahong. Shi Dahong had a fellow villager who knew a lot of dirt on him in the village. He had an affair with a widow from the same village and was blackmailed by the widow. In desperation, he killed the widow and fled that night. He also joined a revolution. 2 years later, he met his fellow villager in the army. Shi Dahong was afraid that his fellow villager would reveal the secret, so during a mission, he found a way to kill his fellow villager and put the blame on the enemy. Lu Yi went home and told Shi Dahong the secret. The reason why I was able to find out the secret is because Shi Dahong likes to stay in the yard alone and talk to himself. Perhaps he is under too much pressure and has no one to talk to, so talking to himself has become Shi Dahong's way of venting. Shi Dahong also liked lotus flowers, so she built a pond in the yard to grow lotus flowers, which was just convenient for Lu Yi to find out. It's been so long since this happened, and there's no evidence, so we can't do anything to Shi Dahong. Wan Qiqi shook her head. To be honest, even if there was evidence, she could not do anything to Shi Dahong, who is now in a high position of power. If you want to defeat him, you must have something deadly. Lu Yi smiled wickedly and said, the fellow villager is just an introduction. The fatal thing is yet to come. When Shi Dahong killed his fellow villager, someone happened to see it. That person was also stupid. After knowing it, he did not report it to his superiors. Instead, he used this matter to threaten Shi Dahong and forced him to give up his relationship with a girl. The girl and Shi Dahong were interested in each other, and the only thing left was to break the window paper. The fool also liked the girl, and he threatened Shi Dahong with this. Shi Dahong agreed on the surface, but not long after that, the fool was also killed by him. Also during the mission? Wan Qiqi asked. Yes, Shi Dahong is a man with many evil intentions. After killing that idiot, he married that girl, the third sister-in-law in Shi Jinghong's notebook. She is not a good person either. Lu Yi curled his lips, thinking that the fool died unjustly. He lost his life for a bad woman in vain. How stupid. The idiot who died had a powerful background? Wan Chichi guessed some of the reasons. Chichi, what's wrong with your brain? How can you be so smart? The baby we have in the future will definitely be smarter than the one with high ambitions. Louis started to flatter people in various ways, and it came from his heart, and it didn't feel hypocritical at all. Don't say this outside. It's not good for Dr. Ian and his wife to hear it. Wan Chichi raised the corners of her mouth, curved her eyebrows, and scooped out a large piece of almond cake to feed it as a reward. I know. I'll say it at home. This cake is delicious. Chichi, the cakes you buy are all tastier than mine. What else can't you make? Louis swallowed the cake and licked his lips. He felt that the cake his wife bought was the most delicious cake in the world, and the nice words were free. Is it delicious? All for you. Wan Chichi's eyebrows curved even more, and she generously fed all the remaining cake to the sweet-mouthed man, then took out a chestnut cake from the space and continued to feed him. Lu Yi, who had eaten 2 pieces of cake in a row, was so happy that bubbles appeared in his eyes, and he continued to talk about Sherdahong. The dead fool's surname was Jiang, and his name was Jiang Tianming. He had an older brother named Jiang Liming. Jiang Liming from Yangcheng military region? Wan Chichi asked back. Joining 759, she got to know the top brass of the major military commands across the country. Jiang Liming is the deputy commander of the Yangcheng military region. Like Lu Disheng, he was born into a peasant family and rose to the top through hard-earned military exploits. He also has a nickname, Jiang Yanwang, which shows how ruthless he is when fighting. Moreover, he is not only ruthless on the battlefield, but also ruthless in managing the army. He is a real ruthless man. Compared with him, Lu Disheng is too kind-hearted. Wan Chichi's eyes lit up. If Jiang Liming knew that Sherdahong was the one who killed his own brother, he would definitely die. Sherdahong is a civilian and is far inferior to Jiang Liming in terms of rank, connections, and means. There is the latest news, and the document has not been issued yet. Jiang Liming will be transferred to Beijing next year. Lu Yi said another important news. Jiang Liming is a general who holds real power and is about to be promoted. Sherdahong is just a civilian. He can do well in the Jiangcheng military region thanks to the care of his brother-in-law, Commander Yang. Once he leaves the Jiangcheng military region, he will be nothing. You should hurry up and do this, and give Mo Jinsong a big gift. Wan Chichi urged, and couldn't wait to see Mo Jinsong's frustrated look. Sherdahong is doomed to die, and Commander Yang will definitely bear a grudge against Mo Jinsong. In the Jiangcheng military region, Mo Jinsong's career is over unless he is transferred to another military region. But when he went to the new military region, he had to start from scratch. This move will definitely make Mo Jinsong feel disgusted. Lu Yi also thought of it, his eyes sparkling, and he suddenly hugged Wan Chichi and kissed her hard several times. How come my wife is so smart? Kiss me again. Our ancestors said that if you listen to your guests, you'll have a good life. Remember this. Wan Chichi was very proud and took the opportunity to educate Lu Yi about male ethics. I will definitely listen to you. I will follow your advice on everything, big or small. Lu Yi smiled and kissed her a few more times before he was satisfied. They had to report to school tomorrow, and the two of them stayed up late into the night before going to bed. As a result, Wan Chichi went to school listless, with 2 big dark sockets under her eyes, lifeless eyes, and yawning all the way. There is no gate at HUSD. The campus looks like a residential area with roads and buses. It is quite interesting to cross the road to go to class. Lu Yi parked the car, carried the luggage on his shoulder, and held the hand of the yawning Wan Chichi as he crossed the road. Passionate songs were playing on the loudspeakers. There were tables on the roadside with signs of each department hanging on them. Sitting there were the teachers in charge of registration and senior students. Everywhere was crowded with new students who should now be called workers, peasants, and soldiers. As the name suggests, the students came from the groups of workers, peasants, educated youth, and soldiers. From the new students' attire, one could basically tell which group they came from. Wearing green military uniforms are generally soldiers and educated youth. Those who don't patch things are usually workers. With patches and dark skin are farmers. Please make way. I'm sorry, I didn't see it. It's okay, just be careful. Such conversations were everywhere. Everyone was very polite. Even if they were hit by the sharp corner of a wooden box, they would not get angry but just laugh it off. Were able to attend the workers, peasants and soldiers' university were the best performers in each group, or they had a family background. In short, none of them was simple, and it was impossible for them to lose their temper over trivial matters and thus affect their image. Louis took Ruan Chichi to complete the admission procedures. After a busy schedule, it was almost noon. Ruan Chichi was a little more sober, and the two went to the girls' dormitory together. Building 9, room 309. Ruan Chichi talked to herself while holding a pile of bedding. It's really good to go to university nowadays. Bedding is provided for free, and there is a living allowance of 17.5 yuan every month. You don't have to spend any money on college, and you can even get a salary every month. With 17.5 yuan of living expenses, if you are frugal, you can never spend it all, and you can also help support your family. No wonder when she surfed the internet in her previous life, many netizens envied people from the 1970s and said they wanted to travel back in time to become workers for the country. Of more than 30 yuan a month, you can support your family, and you live in a public house. There is a primary school for children to go to, a cafeteria for meals, and even the furniture is public. You don't have to worry about dressing up. Everyone wears black, gray, and blue, so there is no need to dress up as they are all the same color anyway. If you can get into university, it would be like a carp leaping over the Dragon Gate, completely crossing the class barrier. Today's college students are rare diamonds, while future college students will be the sand and stones beaten by the waves on the beach. There is no comparison between the two. Ruan Chichi couldn't help but sigh. It was great to travel through time. If it were her in her previous life, even if she was admitted to university, she might not be able to find a good job. Even if she found a good job, she would have to work like a servant. It was better now. The third update is complete. The author really envies the people of the 1970s and 1980s. Although they were a little poorer in terms of material, everyone was poor just the same. They didn't have to buy a house or work like a servant. If they studied well, they could potentially cross social classes. How wonderful it was! The 9 dormitory buildings were built before the liberation. They have 4 floors with red walls and wooden floors. They make a thumping sound when you walk on them. The beds are also made of wooden bunks, which make a creaking sound if you push a little harder. In the middle of the dormitory building, with rooms on both sides and washrooms and toilets at both ends of the building, the old dormitory building has a sense of age. Today is the first day of registration. Males can enter the female dormitory building, but most of the freshmen come to register alone. After all, young people nowadays are very independent, have strong self-care abilities, and look down on those who have not cut off their virginity. Like Ruan Chichi, who are escorted to school. The author has no intention of mocking others. Young people in the 1970s were indeed very independent. In dormitory 309, but only 6 people are accommodated in it. There is a note attached to each bed with a person's name on it. Chichi, you stay on the upper bunk. I'll go get some water. Louis put down his luggage, picked up the basin, and went to the water room to fetch water. Ruan Chichi sat down to rest. She was still a little sleepy. Have already come into the dormitory. One is a girl with slightly dark skin. She is wearing a floral shirt, black pants, and cloth shoes. Her long black hair is tied into a thick and long braid that hangs in front of her chest. Ruan Chichi glanced at the bed where the girl was sitting. Su Erfeng, probably that was the girl's name. Someone was making the mattress on the upper bunk of Su Erfeng's bed, and on the note was written Zheng Jingyun. Zheng Jingyun had already hung up the mosquito net. She opened the net and smiled at Ruan Chichi. Hello, my name is Zheng Jingyun, an educated youth from the Great Northern Wilderness. Hello, I'm Ruan Chichi, from Tanzhou. Ruan Chichi responded politely. My name is Su Erfeng. I'm from Xiangxi. My area had the most bandits, but they're gone now. Su Erfeng smiled innocently and introduced herself. The food there is delicious. Wan Qiqi had a very good impression of Xiangxi. The mountains were beautiful, the people were beautiful, and the food was even more delicious. My mother's cooking is delicious. When you come to visit me in the future, ask my mother to prepare delicious food for you, Su Erfeng said with a naive smile.
Oh,
Wan Qiqi agreed. She was not just saying it out of perfunctory. She really wanted to go. Su Erfeng likes to talk and can never keep silent. Zheng Jingyun is older and has a calmer personality. After making the bed, she also sits quietly and listens to them chatting. Your brother is so nice. My brother only bullies me. After marrying my sister-in-law, he treats me worse than a stranger. Su Erfeng glanced at Lu Yi, who was working hard and was extremely envious. It's my man I'm married. Wan Qiqi smiled. Oh, you two are such a perfect match. Su Erfeng was not too surprised. In her hometown, it was common for girls to get married at the age of 16 or 17. She was still unmarried at the age of 20, which made her an anomaly in her hometown. It was embarrassing. But she doesn't care about all these gossips and still lives happily. Now she has become a glorious worker-peasant-soldier student. Zheng Jingyun looked surprised. She glanced at Wan Qiqi, then at Lu Yi, who was wearing a military uniform, with envy in her eyes. Qiqi, the bed is ready. Here are the meal tickets. I'll put them in your drawer. Lu Yi was very skillful, and in no time he had made the bed and nailed a bed curtain. Wan Qiqi liked to have her own private space, and the mosquito net was transparent, so a bed curtain would provide more privacy. Well, go back. Wan Qiqi nodded. She just wanted to go to bed and sleep. She was so sleepy. I'll leave your bike downstairs. Call me when you're on holiday, and I'll pick you up. Lu Yi was reluctant to leave, as he wouldn't see her again for 6 days. He already started missing her before she left. I know. I'm going to sleep. Wan Qiqi yawned loudly, her eyes sparkling with water, looking so adorable. Lu Yi felt a little regretful because there were too many people in the dormitory. Otherwise, he would have to hug his wife and kiss her at least 10 times. I'm leaving. Lu Yi walked out the door, but soon came back, took out a handful of money from his pocket, and stuffed it all at once at her. I forgot to give you the money. Buy whatever you want to eat, and call me if it's not enough. I manage all the money in the family, have you forgotten? Wan Qiqi glared, returned the money, and added some more. This is your pocket money. Lu Yi put it in his pocket with a smile, pinched her face lightly, and then left. Su Erfeng was laughing as she watched from the side. You two have such a good relationship. Had been silent all this time. Suddenly spoke up, her tone full of envy. They are newlyweds, so they must have a good relationship. Wan Qiqi said it casually without any shyness, and climbed onto the bed to sleep. Su Erfeng and Zheng Jingyun were both very tactful people. They walked on tiptoe and tried not to make any noise, so as not to disturb Wan Qiqi. 307, 308. Wow, 309, I finally found it. A girl's happy voice came from the door, and it could be heard that she had a warm and lively personality. She didn't rush in, but stood at the door and chatted with people. I live in room 309. Come visit me when you have time. Okay, I'm at 311, not far away. The two had obviously just met, but they were already very familiar with each other. The door was pushed open, and a young woman rushed in carrying a suitcase. The woman looked to be in her early 20s, with an oval face, thick eyebrows, big eyes, and short hair. She looked like a person with a lot of energy and vitality. You here so early. My name is Li Yuqin, and I'm from Hangzhou. Li Yuqin took the initiative to greet everyone. She lived in the lower bunk of Wan Qiqi. She carelessly placed her luggage on the bed, causing it to creak. Student Wan on the upper bunk is sleeping, be quiet. Su Erfeng couldn't help but remind him. Oops, I didn't know. I'm sorry. Li Yuqin embarrassedly slowed down her movements and even walked more lightly. She wanted to make the bed, but was afraid of waking Wan Qiqi, so she was hesitant for a moment. It's okay, you guys do your thing, I sleep very soundly. Wan Qiqi lifted the curtain and said, Today is the day for new students to register, so the dormitory must be very lively. She can't ask everyone to cooperate with her just because she is sleepy. Although she is crazy, she is also reasonable. Did I wake you up just now? Sorry, I have a loud voice. Li Yuqin said with a smile. No, I wasn't asleep anyway. Just pack your luggage and don't worry about me. Wan Qiqi smiled, simply opened the tent, and leaned on the quilt to rest. I'm an electrician in the motor factory. I'm the only female electrician in the factory. My father is an 8th-level electrician. He is particularly patriarchal and wants to train my brother to be his successor. Unfortunately, my brother is not interested in being an electrician. Do you know what my brother is doing now? Li Yuqin was very talkative. After making the bed, she started chatting animatedly with Su Erfeng and the others. Fitter?
Su Erfeng Guets?
Probably not. Your brother must be doing a business that makes your father very unhappy. It's not machinery or electronics, but probably a business with more sessions. Zheng Jingyun analyzed. You're so smart. My brother is a tailor now, haha. My brother likes making clothes. He is now a sample maker in a garment factory. When he first went to learn tailoring, my dad was so angry that he wanted to sever the father-son relationship with him. Later, my brother did a decent job, and their relationship eased. Then my dad wanted to train my brother, but guess what my brother did? Li Yuqin is a natural storyteller. Ordinary things spoken from her mouth are particularly infectious and attract people to listen. Wan Qiqi no longer felt sleepy and asked with interest, Is your brother going to dance? The dormitory building is a true portrayal of the author's college life. The appearance is similar to the picture, but it has 4 floors. It was also built before liberation. Walking is very loud, and the bed creaks as well. I especially miss my college life, as well as the delicious food and beautiful scenery of Changsha and the red maples of Yuelu Mountain. The maple leaves should be red now. Wow, you can guess this? What's wrong with your brains? Am I the dumbest person in the whole dormitory? Li Yuqin widened her eyes, feeling incredible. Don't worry, I'm here with you. Su Erfeng comforted her. That's good. It would be embarrassing if I were the only fool. Li Yuqin breathed a sigh of relief and continued to talk about her family. My brother is now a dancer in the city's song and dance troupe. He dances very well and has even performed abroad. There are only 2 boys in my family, and neither of them listens to my father. In the end, I had no choice. My dad could only pass on his skills to me, and he always looked down on me, saying I was not good at this or that. I got angry at him and said if he kept saying I was not good enough, I would not learn this shoot anymore. My dad never said anything to me again after that. Li Yuqin was very proud when she said this, but you can tell that she really loves the job of electrician. Otherwise, she wouldn't have passed the level 4 certificate at such a young age, and she wouldn't have been recommended by the factory to go to university. You are amazing. You are a level 4 electrician. Su Erfeng gave a thumbs up and praised sincerely. It's just average. I just have decent talent. Plus, my father is my master, so if I don't understand something, I have someone to ask. Li Yuqin said modestly. That depends on how good you are. Can I ask you if I don't understand something in my studies in the future? Su Erfeng asked. Okay, let's discuss it together. Actually, I know a little bit about practice, but not theoretical knowledge. Li Yuqin had a very good personality. She did not look down on Su Erfeng for being a country girl and was very easygoing. Around 3 or 4 in the afternoon, the other 2 people from the dormitory also arrived. He Aihong, a native of Zhucheng, was wearing a green uniform, a leather belt around her waist, and had short hair cut to her ears, looking particularly energetic. She dressed, and her hyperthyroid temperament immediately reminded Wan Qiqi of the people in the tail-cutting society. Sure enough, when He Aihong introduced herself, she said that she was a member of the tail-cutting society. Su Erfeng and the others were silent and smiled politely. Even Li Yuqin, who loves making friends, has no intention of making friends with He Aihong, and her attitude is clearly keeping her distance. The other person who lived on the upper bunk of He Aihong was called Sheng Guanqing. He was tall and thin, dressed in a military uniform, and looked heroic but a little cold. After introducing himself, he started making the bed without saying another word. Sheng Guanqing's powerful aura made Su Erfeng and Li Yuqin afraid to approach him. They didn't even dare to chat with him. The dormitory suddenly became very quiet. By the time Shang Guanqing made the bed, it was almost 5 o'clock. Su Erfeng and Li Yuqin prepared to go to the cafeteria for dinner, and they also called Wan Qiqi and Zheng Jingyun. He Aihong and Shang Guanqing did not dare to call them. Wait a minute, it's still early for dinner. I have something to deal with first. He Aihong called them, and her words had a strong sense of officialdom. What's up? Su Erfeng and Li Yuqin both walked to the door and had to go back. He Aihong was very satisfied with their obedience, and the corners of her mouth slightly raised. Wan Qiqi also got out of bed and took out the meal ticket from the drawer. It is a rare fate that we can get together to study together. It is also a test given to us by the organization. We will live together for 2 years in the future. 2 years is not a short time. There is no order without rules. Although our dormitory is small, it is also a collective. As a collective, there must be someone to manage it, otherwise it will be a mess. He Aihong must like giving speeches very much. She said a lot of empty words and waved her fist after every sentence, which moved her so much. Su Erfeng and Li Yuqin listened patiently and did not dare to interrupt. Wan Qiqi interrupted He Aihong with a lunchbox and meal ticket. You want elected dormitory leader, right? He Aihong had just raised her fist and was feeling very emotional, but before she could finish the words she had prepared, she was interrupted. Her emotions were stuck in the middle, neither going up nor down, which made her feel a little uncomfortable. Yes, Wan, can you wait for me to finish? He Aihong accused unhappily. Then can you wait until we finish eating? You are wasting our precious meal time. Man is made of iron and food is made of steel. The quotations also say that the body is the capital of revolution. Food is the most important thing in the world, so we have to go eat now. Wan Qiqi's golden quotes left He Aihong speechless. She couldn't refute a single word and could only watch Wan Qiqi leave the door. Eat first, Shang Guanqing said lightly, holding the lunchbox and following Wan Qiqi. Su Erfeng and Li Yuqin exchanged glances and followed them out, followed by Zheng Jingyun, who reminded He Aihong, if you go too late, the delicious food in the cafeteria will be gone. He Aihong gritted her teeth, took her lunchbox, and went to eat. But she was determined to become the dormitory head, and she also wanted to be a class leader. In the cafeteria is divided into 4 grades, A, B, C, and D. Grade A dishes cost 1.2 cents per portion, and are hard dishes like braised pork. Grade B dishes cost 8 cents per portion, and are very oily and contain meat, such as fried meatballs and stuffed tofu. Dish C only costs 5 cents. It is stewed meat slices with cabbage. There is more vegetables than meat. The taste is not good, but there is meat. Diced vegetables cost 2 cents, and stir-fried cabbage and stir-fried shredded potatoes are the most popular dishes eaten by poor students. The cafeteria also provides free soup, usually seaweed egg drop soup. Some poor students cannot even afford vegetables, so they just have 4 taels of rice and some soup to make do with their meal. Wan Qiqi ordered a portion of braised pork, a portion of vegetables, and 3 taels of rice. Shang Guanqing and Li Yuqin also ordered first-class dishes, and Su Erfeng ordered a second-class dish, mapo tofu, which had meat and a lot of oil in it and went very well with rice. The 4 of them sat at the same table. Zheng Jingyun and He Aihong sat next to them. They sat facing each other, and neither of them spoke. The braised pork is delicious. Wan Qiqi ate a piece of braised pork, which was top-quality pork belly, fatty but not greasy, and tasted better than the one in a small pot. She always felt that braised pork tasted better when cooked in a big pot, and the braised pork made at home was not as delicious as the one in the cafeteria. It tastes better than what I cook. My husband said even pigs wouldn't eat the food I cook. Jin Yuqin said with a smile. You're married too? Su Erfeng was a little surprised. Li Yuqin was so cheerful and lively.
She thought she was not married.
I'm 25 now, and I have 2 children. The eldest one is in kindergarten now. Li Yuqin took a big bite of the braised pork, and her expression softened a lot when she talked about her children. Who will take care of the children when you come to school? My parents-in-law, and my parents help me. We all live in the same building, which is quite convenient. Li Yuqin talked about the story of her and her husband. Her husband was a technician in the factory. The parents of both parties knew each other, and they grew up together, lived in the same building, were classmates in elementary school and middle school, and when they grew up they worked in the same company, so it was natural for them to be together. You two are childhood sweethearts, Su Erfeng said enviously. What childhood sweethearts? We were sworn enemies. When I was little I never dreamed that I would marry him. I hated him so much when I was little. He always pulled my hair in class. It was so annoying. That's because he wants to get your attention. He has liked you since he was a child. Wan Qiqi couldn't help but say that Li Yuqin looked like an unmarried girl even after getting married and having children, and it was obvious that her husband loved her very much. That's what he said, too. Qiqi, you're really smart. You know everything. Li Yuqin admired her even more and felt that there was nothing she didn't know. Wan Qiqi smiled reservedly, feeling very pleased. Shang Wanqing didn't say a word the whole time. She had a big appetite and ordered 6 taels of rice and 2 servings of braised pork. She ate very quickly. Wan Qiqi and the others had only eaten half of them when she finished. She didn't leave either. She still sat there listening to Wan Qiqi and the others talking. After they finished eating, they went to wash the dishes together. Because before coming to school, her leader told her that she should get along well with her classmates and not keep to herself. She actually doesn't like to be sociable, but her leader threatens her that if she doesn't get along well with her classmates, she will not be allowed to carry out tasks. Darn, he uses this to threaten her, and it always works. After returning to the dormitory, Wan Qiqi took the thermos and bucket and prepared to go to the bathroom to take a shower. Lui gave her 2 bottles of boiled water, which was enough. Su Erfeng and Li Yuqin also wanted to take a shower. They were quicker and had already walked to the door with buckets in hand. Wait a minute, choose the dormitory head first. He Hong called them again. Su Erfeng and Li Yuqin were very annoyed, but they didn't dare to offend her, so they had to come back and sit down obediently. I choose Shang Wanqing. Wan Qiqi knew what He Hong was thinking, but she refused to let the woman get her wish. If He Hong really becomes the dormitory head, there will be no peace in the dormitory from now on. This woman reminded her of a male celebrity in her previous life who was very daddy-like. He loved preaching and always liked to give obedience tests to people he met for the first time, forcing others to obey him. He Hong has this kind of personality, always wanting to control others. Student Wan, can you please listen to me first? I started working at the age of 19, working in the propaganda department of my unit. I grew up from an ordinary propaganda officer to the director of the propaganda department. I know you are very good, but I will choose Shang Wanqing. Wan Qiqi interrupted her again and said that the best way to deal with people who like to control others is to not listen. He Hong's face darkened and she said in a deep voice, Student Wan Qiqi, can you please stop interrupting me every time I'm talking? You're being very rude, don't you know that? He Hong, can you please stop interrupting me every time I'm about to do something? My time is precious, you know that? And I've already given the answer. I chose Shang Wanqing. Why are you unhappy? Do I have to choose you? He Hong, your bureaucratic thinking is a bit serious. Responded rudely, and even used the word bureaucracy. Su Erfeng, Li Yuqin, and Zheng Jingyun's expressions changed. They looked at Wan Qiqi with admiration and admired her courage to speak out. Shang Wanqing still had a cold expression, without any emotion fluctuation. Wan Qiqi, please don't spit blood at me. I just hope that our small group can make progress together under the leadership of smart and outstanding people and grow into outstanding workers, peasants and soldiers. He Hong looked unhappy. She argued with reason and gave a lot of reasons. I think Shang Wanqing is very smart and outstanding. I believe that under her leadership, we will definitely make progress together. Shang Wanqing, who was mentioned one after another, had a smile in her eyes. She liked Wan Qiqi's personality, so I'll vote for myself, too. It's just managing a few women, a piece of cake. Just beat them if they don't obey. Li Yuqin and Su Erfeng used their eyes to look at the crickets. Which one do you choose? It seems that none of them are easy to offend.
Li Yuqin.
Choose Shang Wanqing. Wan Qiqi is so smart, she will definitely not be wrong. Su Erfing decided to follow Wan Qiqi, and she really didn't like He Hong. She was disgusted by her domineering attitude. Shang Guanqing ignored people. He did not look down on them, nor did he like to assign work to others. I also choose Shang Guanqing. The two said in unison. Zheng Jingyan smiled and said, Student Shang Guanqing already has 4 votes, so there is no need for me to cast my vote. Who are you going to choose? He Hong refused to let her go and forced her to take sides. Who I vote for won't change the outcome. It doesn't matter. Zheng Jingyan spoke in a light tone. She didn't want to take sides. She had finally come to college, and she didn't want to waste her time on these boring things. She has more important things to do. Head of the dorm, can I go take a shower now? Wan Qiqi asked loudly. Go. Shang Guanqing also picked up his toiletries and stood up. Was the only one left in the dormitory. She gritted her teeth and had a gloomy face. She came to college with great ambitions, but suffered a miserable defeat on the first day and failed to even become a dormitory head. In the dormitory are so abominable, especially Wan Qiqi and Shang Guanqing. She must find a way to win back the position of dormitory head in the future. However, He Hong is very confident about tomorrow's class leader selection. She is a glorious D member. The class leaders are selected by the class tutors, and D members will definitely be given priority. The first day of school was relatively calm. At 6 o'clock the next morning, majestic music sounded on the radio, and everyone woke up. The bathroom was very crowded. Wan Qiqi finally squeezed in to wash up and went to the cafeteria to eat with Su Erfeng and the others before gathering in the teaching building. 26 people in the electrical automation class, 6 girls and 20 boys. The oldest is 30 years old, and the youngest is 18 years old. Half of the class are married. The class teacher's surname is Jing, and he is an elegant middle-aged man. The curriculum at the Workers', Peasants' and Soldiers' University was very tight. With only a 2-year program, classes were fully scheduled every day from morning to night, which was much harder than for college students in later generations. The class cadres were appointed by the head teacher, basically D members. He Hong was the secretary of the Youth League Committee. The class monitor was a 28-year-old male student named Chang Yufeng. He was quite handsome, but his family was very poor. His pants were patched, and when he went to the cafeteria to get food, he always ordered the cheapest D-grade dishes. Li Yuqin quickly became friends with her classmates and could basically call out their names. Like Wan Qiqi and Shang Guanqing, they were not interested in making friends. They all came to school for similar purposes. Shang Guanqing came to the school to recuperate, while Wan Qiqi came to experience college life in the 1970s. I am busy studying every day, and time flies. In the blink of an eye, it is Friday. According to current regulations, schools have half-day classes on Saturday and have a holiday in the afternoon. This is true for both elementary and middle schools. Wan Qiqi thought it was the same in college, so she packed her things and planned to go back home in the afternoon. Lu Yi also called and said he would pick her up on Saturday at noon. Wan Qiqi asked him not to come, so she rode back by herself. Student 309, Wan Qiqi, someone is looking for you downstairs. The dormitory teacher's voice came from the loudspeaker. It was dinner time. Wan Qiqi had just returned to the dormitory with her meal from the cafeteria and had not yet eaten. She closed the lid, hurried downstairs, and saw Manzai in the hall downstairs. Manzai was wearing a white shirt and black pants, looking very neat. He was holding a bag in his hand. Mama Jiang was sitting at his feet. Both the man and the dog raised their heads and looked towards the corridor. When they saw Wan Qiqi coming down the stairs, a smile appeared on Manzai's face. Mama. Chan wagged her tail and ran towards the stairs. Qiqi. Manzai waved his hand. Wan Qiqi was a little surprised. She thought it was Lu Yi, but it turned out to be Manzai. Why are you here? Wan Qiqi stroked Mama Jiang's head several times and asked in surprise. I'll bring you wontons with shepherd's purse and pork. Manzai took out an aluminum lunchbox from the bag, which was full of wontons, still steaming. Wow, I'm craving this. Thank you, Manzai. Wan Qiqi swallowed hard. She was really craving for the shepherd's purse wontons made by Guanjihua. It was true that she was very lucky. Whatever she wanted came true. Don't thank me. Take this money and spend it at school. Manzai took out a handful of money from his trouser pocket and stuffed it into Wan Chi-Chi's hand, looking at her with a particularly loving look. The kid has lost weight since going to school. It must be because he doesn't have enough money or eat enough. I have money, spend it yourself. Wan Chi-Chi wanted to put it back, but Manzi refused. The two of them were at a stalemate. Zheng Jingyun came over with a lunchbox. When she saw them, her eyes flashed and she asked with a smile, "Student Wan, is he your brother?" "It's Dad." Manzai corrected him seriously, saying that Chi-Chi and Ye were both his children, and that he would work harder to earn money in the future to buy delicious food for them and not let them starve. Wan Chi-Chi was too lazy to correct him. No matter what Manzai called her, she would not recognize him anyway. Zheng Jingyun looked surprised. She smiled and went upstairs. Manzai looked at her for a few seconds, frowned slightly, and whispered, "She smells a bit." The third update is complete. The Workers', Peasants' and Soldiers' University in the early 1970s was actually very valuable. The students were carefully selected and studied very hard. Later, they basically became the backbone of the country. Wan Chi-Chi had just stuffed the money into Manzi's pocket when she heard this and asked in surprise, "Is she a bad person?" Ever since he captured a Japanese soldier in the hotel, Manzai has triggered his breath skill and has become particularly sensitive to the enemy's breath. As long as it smells stinky, it is most likely a Japanese soldier. Relying on this skill, Manzai has captured 2 Japanese devils by himself. He is so amazing. "No, it smells a bit, but not too bad, I'm not sure." Manzai muttered to himself that the scent on Zheng Jingyun was different from that of the enemy and didn't smell that bad. He was not sure if she was a bad person and was afraid of wrongly accusing a good person. "It's okay, I'll go make sure." Wan Chi-Chi comforted her softly, saying that Manzai's condition had finally improved and that she shouldn't put too much pressure on him. "Well, I'm going back. Goodbye, Chi-Chi." Manzai nodded, patted Wan Chi-Chi on the head gently, and left with Mama Zhang. "Goodbye." Wan Chi-Chi smiled and waved, standing downstairs of the dormitory building, watching Manzai get on the bike and Mama Zhang running happily behind. After a while, they went far away. She turned and went back into the dormitory building, preparing to go back to the dormitory to eat wontons. When she reached the second floor, she noticed something hard in her pocket. She reached in and found a roll of money. Manzai stuffed the money back in, and Wan Chi-Chi counted it with a smile. There were 86 yuan and 50 cents. Manzai took out all the money he had on him. "Really, it always makes me cry." Wan Chi-Chi sniffed and decided not to spend the money. She would return it to Manzai when she returned to the compound tomorrow. Everyone in the dormitory was eating, except Shang Guanqing, who had finished his meal early in the cafeteria and was sitting down reading a book. "Student Wan, your father's gone?" Zheng Jingyun asked with concern. "Chi-Chi, is your father here?" "Oh, I should have said hello to my uncle." Li Yuqin was a little annoyed and felt that it was too rude. "Well, I'm going back." Wan Chi-Chi opened his mouth and wanted to explain that he was not the father, but it would take more than a few words to explain it clearly. He had to start with Manzai's illness and his habit of being a father. It would take at least a few hundred words. Forget it. Father Wan is dead now. So, let's just keep making mistakes. There will be a chance later. Wan Chi-Chi smiled and sat down to eat wontons. Guan Jihua made Shanghai vegetable wontons, which were big and had lots of fillings. When she took a bite, the juice from the fillings splashed in her mouth. So delicious. "Chi-Chi, these are the dumplings your father sent you. Your father is so nice." Li Yuqin was extremely envious. "It's wontons, made the way they are in Shanghai." Wan Chi-Chi saw that she was greedy, so she gave her 2, and she was reluctant to give away the extra ones. "Thank you. Next time I go home, I'll bring you something delicious." Li Yuqin thanked him repeatedly and ate the 2 wontons. "Student Ruan's father is so young. He looks like her brother," Zheng Jingyun said with a smile. Wan Chi-Chi glanced at her. It had been a week since school started, And this woman had almost no presence in the dormitory. She was not a loner either. She would go to class and get food with the other people in the dormitory, but she was easy to be ignored and had a low sense of presence. But today, Zheng Jingyun was particularly active and mentioned Manzai one after another. Everyone in my family looks young. Zheng, how long have you been in the Great Northern Wilderness? I have a relative who also went there. He wrote back saying that the winter there is so cold that it can freeze people to death. When you go out to pee, you have to take a stick and knock it while you pee, otherwise you will freeze. Is that right? Wan Qiqi asked with interest. Isn't that so exaggerated? Su Erfeng and Li Yuqin both found it incredible. Your relative's story is a bit exaggerated, but the Great Northern Wilderness is indeed very cold. It's -30 or 40 degrees Celsius in the winter. You have to wrap yourself up tightly before going out, otherwise your ears, fingers, and toes might freeze off. But people there basically don't go out in the winter. They stay at home and warm themselves by the fire. They call it hibernation there, and they have to stay at home from October to March or April of the following year. Zheng Jingyun knew the Great Northern Wilderness very well and told the story slowly. She described was similar to what Wan Qiqi learned on the internet in her previous life, which meant that this woman had indeed stayed in the Great Northern Wilderness for quite some time. Does your regiment also hibernate during the winter? Wan Qiqi is like a curious baby and asks everything. Yes, the soil there is frozen in winter, and we can't work. But we also do some odd jobs and have to patrol and stand guard at night. We are different from the locals. Zheng Jingyun said with a smile. Then you are quite comfortable. You only have to work for half a year, and you can rest for half a year. Su Erfeng's tone was full of envy. She had to work all year round in her hometown, especially the double harvest in August. She had to get up early and work late, working harder than oxen and horses. After a month of double harvest, she would be exhausted. The work was hard. We had to go up the mountain to cut trees and then carry them down the mountain. A wet log weighed several hundred pounds, and it was very tiring for only 2 people to carry it. Zheng Jingyun's tone was very calm, as if she was talking about someone else's business. You want to carry some wood too? Can you do it? Su Erfeng was half believing and half doubting. After all, Zheng Jingyun didn't look like someone who could carry hundreds of pounds. She was thin and small, and looked gentle and pretty. She didn't look like someone who could do heavy work. Of course I have to carry it. I'm still on the Iron Lady team. Zheng Jingyun smiled, looking very proud. You are awesome. Su Erfeng and Li Yuqin both gave thumbs up and looked at him in worship. He Aihong also looked at her with admiration. Shangguan Qing was still reading quietly, not affected at all. Zheng Jingyun shyly lowered her head to eat and behaved very normally. Until now, Wan Qiqi had not noticed anything suspicious about her. Eating the wontons, Wan Qiqi went to wash the lunchbox, walked to the windowsill to collect clothes, and chatted with the sycamore tree outside for a while to see if she could get some useful information. But it didn't. Zheng Jingyun behaved very normally, without any suspicion at all. Wan Qiqi was not in a hurry. If Zheng Jingyun was really a Japanese devil, she would definitely reveal her flaws after a while. She also speculated that if Zheng Jingyun was a Japanese devil, she was most likely sent by the Kakuno family, and her target was her. Of the Kakuno family, died in her hands. Before his death, he passed on a message. Pei Yuan said that the Kakuno family would never let her go easily, because they would never let her go. Wan Qiqi was not too worried. No matter how powerful the Kukui family was, they would have to lie low once they arrived at China's territory. No classes tomorrow. Go to the countryside to work. Li Yuqin came back from visiting the dormitory next door and happily told me a good news. Wow, I finally don't have to go to class. I love working.
Su Erfeng.
Her cultural foundation was relatively poor. Listening to classes gave her a headache as she couldn't understand a lot. She had to take tutoring classes after class and put in much more effort than others. After a week of classes, she was exhausted. Work half a day? Wan Qiqi asked. You wish. A day's work. My fellow villager said it will be like this in the first semester. We have to go to the countryside to work for a day, every Saturday. Li Yuqin said with a smile. She also likes to work and doesn't like to attend classes. Although she is a level 4 electrician, she still gets a headache listening to it. It's too difficult. Wan Chi-Chi's good mood disappeared immediately after eating the wontons. She hates labor the most. Can I take a leave? She didn't ask because if she did, she would definitely be accused of evading labor and making a big deal out of it. Although she wasn't afraid, she was afraid of trouble. Wan Chi ran downstairs to call Lu Yi. Chi, are we going on holiday early? Lu Yi asked happily. Was very lonely after being alone in the empty room for 5 days. You wish. I have to work tomorrow, and you can pick me up in the evening. Wan Chi-Chi's tone was sad. She now missed the labor classes in her previous life very much. Every week's labor classes would eventually become any class in Chinese, math, English, or science, but never labor classes. I didn't expect that the labor classes in the 1970s actually required labor. And if you go to work in the countryside, don't carry manure. Chi, please ask for leave. It's so tiring to work.
I feel bad for you.
When Lu Yi heard that they had to work, he immediately felt distressed. Chi only cooked at home, and he did all the other housework. He couldn't even bear to wash the dishes, so how could he endure the hard work at school? It's okay, come pick me up tomorrow night. Wan Chi comforted him, saying that there would always be a way out when the car reached the mountain, and they would see what happened tomorrow. Labor is indeed glorious, but she is lazy. The next morning, after gathering in the classroom, they headed towards the countryside in a mighty procession. They didn't need to bring any tools because the village had everything they needed. The students were very excited, and just like they were going on an outing, they walked for more than 10 miles and finally arrived at the working village. The team leader was waiting for them early. Welcome, welcome. We warmly welcome college students to support our production. Team leader was particularly skilled in the reception procedures, and it was obvious that he often received college students. Today we are mainly responsible for carrying manure. We need to carry this pile of manure to that pit to make compost. Thank you for your hard work, students. The team leader led them to the cowshed and pig pen of the team. It was estimated that they had not been cleaned for many days. There were mountains of manure and seas of manure, and flies were flying everywhere, all of them with green heads. Wan Chi gritted his teeth and said, "Darn it, whatever you fear is bound to come true." Her mind was working rapidly, but she couldn't think of a good solution for a moment. Just then, an old lady came over carrying a load on her shoulder and looked at them curiously. Are college students coming to work again? The aunt and the captain chatted in the local dialect, which was similar to the Tanzhou dialect, with slightly different pronunciations. Wan Chi listened to it without any pressure. Her eyes rolled, and she thought of a good idea. Teacher Jing, I'm going to the bathroom. Wan Chi and her class teacher asked for leave and soon caught up with the aunt. Grandma, can I go to work with you? Wan Chi called the old lady and asked, while taking out $1 from his pocket and waving it in front of the old lady. $1 coin under the sunlight sparkled with charming golden light, blinding the old lady's eyes. Why not? I'll go talk to the captain. The aunt agreed very readily, ran quickly to talk to the team leader, and pointed at Wan Chi. That girl is pretty hardworking. Let her come with me to weed the fields. You don't need so many people to carry manure here. The grass in the fields is taller than people. Captain was still hesitating. Sister Feng, you ate my food when you were a kid. I'm old now, and my words don't count. The Annie called the captain by his nickname, and her tone became arrogant. Okay, you take them to pull out the weeds. The captain had no choice but to agree. This lady was actually his aunt, and he had indeed drunk her milk when he was a child. He dared not refuse. Wan Chi was taken away by the aunt in this beautiful and charming way. The $1 went into the aunt's pocket. The aunt was a generous person. She took Wan Chi to the hillside to pull weeds. She also gave her a small bench so that she could sit and rest, and did not let her pull weeds. You are a delicate girl. You can't handle farm work. Don't cut your hands. See to sight. Come to my house for lunch, and I'll fry an egg for you. Thank you, Grandma. Wan Chi didn't hesitate to sit down, watching the old lady work and chatting with her. You must be thirsty. have some sweet potato. The old lady was also a wonderful person. After chatting and feeling thirsty, she ran to the sand above, dug up 2 yam, and shared them with Ruan Chichi. It's from my family's private plot, so don't worry about eating it. The aunt told Ruan Chichi to eat with confidence. So sweet. Grandma, your yam is grown really well. Ruan Chichi peeled the skin and took a bite. It was very juicy and sweet. She praised the old lady so much that her eyes narrowed with smiles. She also talked about how good her old man was at farming. The whole morning was spent in such a leisurely and pleasant manner. Ruan Chichi ate 2 yam and took a nap for more than an hour. When they passed by the lotus pond while going down the mountain, the aunt picked a lotus pod for her and asked her to peel the lotus seeds and eat them. So comfortable. Ruan Chichi stretched her body. She really enjoyed this kind of labor class. The aunt warmly invited her to have lunch at her home, and Ruan Chichi gladly agreed. The other students in the class had also finished their work, and they all smelled stinky. Even Zheng Jingyun, who loved cleanliness the most, had a lot of feces on her trouser legs and looked miserable. But there is one person who is clean and clear, that is Shang Guanqing. Class teacher assigned her to be the scorekeeper, counting the amount of work done by each student, without her having to put in any effort at all. Ruan Chichi went home with her aunt and bumped into her classmates who were all covered in dust. The one walking in front was Hong, who loved to show off the most, so she looked the most embarrassed, and the stench could be smelled from far away. Seeing the fresh and clean Ruan Chichi, Hong frowned and looked displeased. Student Ruan Chichi, did you work this morning? It's time to work. I'm pulling weeds with my grandma. Ruan Chichi answered very seriously. Yes, the girl looks skinny, but she's a good worker. She's even faster than me at pulling weeds. She's a college student after all. She's always the best at everything she does. The aunt was also very understanding and immediately praised Ruan Chichi in many ways. The class teacher was pleased to hear this. If every student could be like Ruan Chichi, their automation class would definitely be rated as an advanced class. How come you are clean after working? Hong asked persistently. It means I'm good at work, just like a skilled housewife in the north who needs dough. She needs to make sure her hands, dough, and basin are all clean. That's what a skilled housewife does. If someone doesn't know how to knead dough, her hands and basin will be full of dough, and the dough will be bumpy. That's called a lazy housewife. I'm someone who works but looks like I'm not working. I'm the one who really knows how to work, don't you understand? Ruan Chichi's arguments were convincing and well-founded. She also gave a meaningful look to the disheveled Hong, and her direction was particularly obvious. Yes, 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 and it has to be a college student. People who can speak well and work well are like this. The aunt was the best supporting actor. She sang in unison with Ruan Chichi and left Hong speechless. Ruan Chichi looked at her proudly, then walked away with the aunt. The auntie was a good cook, and she fried 3 eggs for her at lunch, which was considered VIP treatment in the countryside. After the meal, Ruan Chichi gave the auntie another 50 cents for the meal. She has always been generous to those who are kind and sincere. The aunt who earned $1.50 did not need Ruan Chichi's instructions this time. She continued to take her to the mountain to pull weeds in the afternoon, while Hong and the others continued to carry manure. At the end of the day, Ruan Chichi's face was rosy, while Hong and the others were covered in dust and dirt. Surfing is fine. She has gotten used to it in her hometown. Li Yuqin was like an eggplant hit by frost. On the way back, she didn't say a word and was exhausted. Back to school. Everyone walked with their heads down, which was in stark contrast to the laughter and joy when they came. After walking 2 or 3 miles, a jeep drove over and stopped in front of Ruan Chichi. Lu Yi jumped out of the car and said with a smile, "Chichi, we're home." Ruan Chichi's eyes lit up. Finally, she didn't have to walk anymore. She even called out to Shang Guanqing, "Do you want to go back together?"
Want.
Shang Guanqing didn't hesitate and jumped into the car. Li Yuqin looked over hopefully and also wanted to get in the car. Ruan Chichi didn't wait for her to speak and ruthlessly rejected her. "No, you stink." Li Yuqin's face fell. She wanted to cry. After sending Shang Guanqing back to school, Wan Qiqi and the others went to the Lu family again to return the money to Manzai. Qiqi, how's school going? Guan Jihua asked with concern. It's okay, but I have to work every week. Today I even carried manure. Wan Qiqi said with a smile. You didn't choose? Guan Jihua looked her up and down and knew that she definitely didn't pick one. I'm going to pull weeds. Wan Qiqi smiled slyly, not saying that she didn't even pull out the grass and stayed comfortably for the whole day. Guan Jihua smiled, but didn't expose her. The girl looked clean and tidy, and it was obvious that she had not done any work. But she understood very well that no one is born to love working, and she didn't like it when she was young. Wan Qiqi took out the money and asked Guan Jihua to return it to Manzai. You can keep the flowers. Manzi gave them to you. He will feel bad if you don't spend them, Guan Jihua said with a smile. Yesterday morning Manzai was muttering about bringing food to Qiqi and said Qiqi would be hungry at school and asked him to bring more money. Since Manzai recovered some of his memory, he missed Qiqi and Xiaoye even more. She always worries that the two children don't have enough to eat and don't have enough money to spend, and she often talks about making more money to give to Qiqi and Ye. I can't spend all my salary, so you can keep this money and don't let Manzi know about it. Wan Qiqi refused to accept it no matter what. She had more money than she could spend, so how could she take Manzai's money? Guan Jihua had no choice but to accept it. He asked them about some school matters and even invited them to his home for dinner. I don't want to eat anymore. Where's Manzi? Wan Qiqi refused. She wanted to go home to eat. I went out to play with Mama Chan. Guan Jihua is now also called Mama Jiang, which sounds better than Mama. Wan Qiqi and Lu Yi said goodbye and went back to the family building. When they passed by the Mo family, they saw Mo Heping in the yard. Mo Heping was watering the flowers and plants in the yard. When she saw them, she wanted to come out to say hello, but Lu Yi did not stop the car and drove away directly. Mo Heping returned to the yard with a gloomy expression. Why hasn't she returned to the capital yet? Wan Qiqi couldn't help but ask, it's already September. Will school start later in Beijing? I'm leaving next week. Lu Yi spoke in a light tone and didn't want to mention his sister. He shifted the topic to Mo Jinsong. I wrote a letter to Jiang Liming of the Yangcheng military region, telling him the truth about his brother's death. Jiang Liming is already investigating. Is it under Mo Jinsong's name? Wan Qiqi asked. Well, when is the little notebook due? There was some excitement in Lu Ye's tone, and he couldn't help but feel happy when he thought that Mo Jinsong was about to get into trouble. Don't be in a hurry. Once Jiang Liming has found out the truth, he will definitely take action against Zhe Dahong. Then you can hand in the little notebook in the name of Mo Jinsong. Wan Qiqi said. Okay, Mo Jinsong is going to be in big trouble this time. The Jiangcheng military region is finished with him. Lu Yi had a wicked smile on his face. Mo Jinsong was a power-obsessed person. His biggest wish was to climb to the pinnacle of power. Ruining his career would be more painful than taking his life. It's definitely not over. His biological father is Uncle Mo. At most, he will be promoted a few years later. Wan Qiqi felt that he was thinking too simply. With Mo Qiufeng as their biological father, the future of the Mo Jinsong brothers could not be too bad, not to mention that the two brothers themselves were capable. She could do was to cause some trouble for Mo Jinsong, delay his promotion for a few years, and vent Lu Ye's anger.
Montag Jinsong wohnt Big Onkel Montag.
They have a bad relationship as father and son. Lu Ye's tone was very certain. Mo Jinsong was very arrogant and would rather go to Jiangcheng than stay in Tianzhou.
Why?
Wan Qiqi became interested. It seemed that the relationship between the father and son of the Mo family was still very harmonious, but she didn't expect that it was just superficial. Uncle Mo shot Mo Jinsong's mother. He was 4 years old at the time and saw it with his own eyes. There may have been other things as well. Anyway, they had a bad relationship. Lu Yi wasn't too sure either. He only knew about this matter, which he found out by accident. Hearing the whole story, Wan Qiqi's respect for Mo Qiufeng and his wife deepened. In order to liberate the whole of China, Our predecessors sacrificed too much. The two arrived downstairs of the family building. Wan Qiqi got out of the car first, and Lu Yi went to park the car. Sister Wan, are you back? You are such a great person that you don't show up. You went to college without making any noise. I was wondering why I haven't seen you for a week. Wang Suehua came forward cordially, her face full of smiles. Missed me? Wan Qiqi made a joke. I think about it even in my dreams. Sister Wan, have you finished drinking the glutinous rice wine? Wang Suehua quickly turned to glutinous rice wine. She had been going out every day recently and had not run into the Japanese devils. Her passionate heart gradually cooled down. Although you can earn a lot by catching the Japanese, it is too difficult. It is better to be down to earth and rely on Wan Qiqi to make a fortune. I'll send you 20 kilograms of glutinous rice later. Wan Qiqi lived up to Tsuehua's high hopes and generously placed an order for 20 kilograms. Why do you need to deliver it? I'll go get it. You're a college student and your hands are used to holding pens. I'll do the physical work of carrying rice. I have plenty of strength. Wang Suehua smiled with a flattering face. 20 kilograms of glutinous rice was 5 yuan as wages. Although it was not as much as the bonus for catching the Japanese, it was stable. Wan Qiqi rubbed her arms. Although she liked to hear nice words, this one was too corny and a bit too much for her to handle. Lu Danny and the others all looked disdainful, yet also somewhat envious. After all, money is really sweet. Unfortunately, the wine they brewed was not as delicious as Wang Suehua's. It was the flatterer who deserved to earn the money. Lu Yi parked the car, walked over with the keys, and went upstairs with Wan Qiqi. Deputy Captain Liu and Miss Wan are truly a perfect match, talented and pretty. They are the most suitable couple in our family building. Wang Suehua started to flatter Lu Yi again, and Lu Yi was very happy. Just then, Wang Suehua's little son ran over, and he took out a few candies from his pocket and threw them to the child. Thank you, Uncle Lu. The kid was so happy, and then he got slapped on the head by his mother. Thank you, Aunt Seven. This little jerk is so ignorant. Wang Suehua glared at her son. Wan Qiqi was her breadwinner and butter, so she must be respected. Thank you, Auntie Qi. The child touched the back of his head and quickly added. Wan Qiqi couldn't help laughing. Although Wang Suehua was snobbish, she was still able to provide emotional value, and she could always be amused by her. I went up to the second floor. I saw Captain Su busy cooking. Sang Qingfeng came out and was driven into the house by him.
Just lie down in bed and rest.
The doctor told you to rest. I'm not a noble lady. I'm just pregnant, so let me do it. Sang Qingfeng took the kitchen knife without saying a word, mainly because the food cooked by Captain Su was too bad. It would be better for her to cook it herself. Captain Su was helping with a smile on his face. He heard the women in the building say that Sang Qingfeng might be giving birth to a girl this time, which made him very happy because he liked girls. The two sons were a big worry, and it would be great if there was a sensible girl. Unexpectedly, Sang Qingfeng could actually get pregnant, which was truly a blessing from heaven. Wan Qiqi smiled, and Sang Qingfeng also finally got her reward after all the hardship. She and Lu Yi returned home and cooked a big meal in the evening. After the meal, they naturally felt like they were newlyweds after a short separation. They made love all night long, and the moon was so ashamed that it disappeared into the clouds. After a good rest at home for a day, Lu Yi sent her to school on Monday morning. Wan Qiqi went straight to the classroom, and her classmates were particularly polite to her. After all, Lu Yi drove to pick people up that day, and an officer in the army who could be equipped with a car must have a high rank, at least a battalion commander. After half a day of classes, Wan Qiqi went to the cafeteria to eat and returned to the dormitory to rest. Zheng Jingyan looked a little haggard, and her complexion was not very good. Wan Qiqi had already gone to bed, but when she saw her, she got out of bed again, took a piece of clothing to the windowsill to dry, and chatted with the sycamore tree by the window. That woman was injured, with a big cut on her shoulder, but she secretly applied medicine in the middle of the night and took a shower in the middle of the night, like a thief. Watangsha talked about Zheng Jingyun's abnormal behavior in the past 2 days. The third update is finished. The author also wants to update more, but really has no power. I get stuck every day. And the author is a very emotional person. Sometimes I am in a good mood when I wake up at noon, but suddenly I feel low in energy after washing up, which greatly affects my mood for writing. So, I have to keep at least 2 days of manuscripts for fear of interruption. I am not complaining. The author is very positive about life and works hard to increase his energy every day. Readers also need to be happy every day and live a long and smooth life. I love you, Wan Qiqi asked in detail and found out that Zheng Jingyun had injured both shoulders. She took a bath and applied medicine secretly for fear of being seen. Obviously, Zheng Jingyun was injured while working in the countryside on Saturday. She was responsible for carrying manure, and her shoulders were worn out over time. Wan Qiqi looked over to the bed where Zheng Jingyun was lying. The woman was already lying on the bed. A strong woman who had worked in the Great Northern Wilderness for several years got her skin worn out after only 1 day of labor. This is not like a strong woman. For example, Su Erfeng, who came from a countryside, is not affected at all during a day's work and is still full of energy. Zheng Jingyun was obviously lying. Manzai's feeling that day was correct. Even if this woman was not a Japanese devil, she had a relationship with them, and her purpose for coming to school was not pure. Student Zheng, your clothes fell off. Wan Qiqi deliberately threw Zheng Jingyun's clothes down and started yelling. Zheng Jingyun couldn't sleep anymore, so she had to get up. She said unhappily, "How could you fall down when you were getting so much sun? There was no wind." "I don't know either. It just fell down by itself." Wan Qiqi shrugged innocently and walked back to her bed. She deliberately walked past Zheng Jingyun and accidentally bumped into her right shoulder.
Ouch.
Zheng Jingyun cried out in pain, and her face turned pale. "I'm sorry. Let me rub it for you." Wan Qiqi pretended to care about her and pressed her shoulders and rubbed them hard. "No need. I'm fine." Zheng Jingyun's face turned paler, and cold sweat broke out on her forehead due to the pain. She pushed Wan Qiqi away with force, appearing a little out of control. Shang Wanqing, who was reading a book, looked at her deeply and asked, "Is your shoulder injured?" "No, Wan was hurt a little." Zheng Jingyun denied it repeatedly, forced a smile, and hurried out. Walked out of the door, her eyes became sinister. Darn Wan Qiqi, she almost got exposed. She reached out her hand and rubbed her right shoulder gently a few times. That day, she was carrying manure in the countryside, and both of her shoulders were rubbed raw. Thinking about having to work again next week, her heart felt heavy. If she had known that she would have to work to go to college, she would not have boarded this pirate ship. Now she is in a dilemma and is stuck in a dilemma. "Yuqin, how much did you pay for that pair of leather shoes?" Li Yuqin walked out of the bathroom holding a basin of washed clothes. She was not in a hurry to go back to the dormitory. She chatted with several female classmates in the corridor.
Someone asked her about it.
"My husband bought it. I don't know how much it cost. I'll ask him later." Li Yuqin talked about her husband. A happy smile appeared on her face. "You two have such a great relationship. Your husband must be missing you so much when you come to school. Anyway, Hangzhou is not far from Tianzhou. If you miss your wife, you can take the train to visit her. There is also a guest house in the school, so you don't have to worry about having a place to stay. You can also experience the feeling of being away from each other for a short time, which is a special feeling." As the women were talking, the topic went off topic and started making fun of Li Yuqin. Li Yuqin laughed openly, not embarrassed at all, and said, "When my man comes, you guys will pay for the hotel." "Bah, wishful thinking. You and your man are like newlyweds after a short separation, and we are still thirsty." The female classmate who was speaking was bold and outspoken, and it was obvious that she was a married woman. Someone saw Zheng Jingyun and greeted her with a smile. "Jingyun, do you want to go shopping in the department store tomorrow at noon? Didn't you say you wanted to buy some leather shoes?" "Okay, call me tomorrow." Zheng Jingyun readily agreed. She also wanted to buy the leather shoes that Li Yuqin was wearing. Now that she has money, she can afford whatever she wants. She no longer has to hesitate for a long time before buying a hairpin or mend a pair of socks over and over again and cannot bear to throw them away. From now on, She will no longer have to live a hard life. She will also have the opportunity to go abroad and live a good life eating milk and bread every day. Zheng Jingyun's wavering heart became firm again. She didn't do anything, just reported on Wan Qiqi's daily life. She was able to leave the bitter and cold place like the great northern wilderness, go to the workers, peasants, and soldiers' university, and get a considerable sum of money every month. With such a big pie falling from the sky, even a fool would know to open his mouth wide to catch it. Also promised that as long as she did a good job, she would be sent abroad in the future. Zheng Jingyun agreed, without hesitation. She reached into her pocket and crumpled the note, then thought of her beautiful clothes and fashionable leather shoes, and walked downstairs quickly and resolutely. Zheng Jingyun went to the back mountain. HUST was built on the mountain, and there was the world-famous Yuelu Academy and Iwan Pavilion halfway up the mountain. Every day, many students went to the mountain to study. Coming to study at noon, and many of them sat in the Iwan Pavilion. Everyone kept quiet consciously. Apart from the rustling sound of the breeze and the sound of students turning pages on the mountain, there was also the sound of students flipping through books. Zheng Jingyun pretended to take a walk and slowly walked into a sparsely populated woods. There was an ancient tomb with a thick pine tree next to it. She looked around, made sure there was no one there, and took out a small note. The note reads, "Wan Qiqi is lazy and has a bad temper. She is not sociable. Her husband is a senior military officer. She comes from a wealthy family and is very much loved by her father." She wrote 300 or 400 words, all about Wan Qiqi's life during that period, and also mentioned that Manzai came to bring food and money. The person who arranged for her to go to school said that she could get the money as long as she reported Wan Qiqi's daily life updates on time. The tree hole was not big, only enough for a finger to be poked in. Zheng Jingyun picked up a thin stick, poked it into the tree hole, and took out a $5 bill. She was overjoyed, as the man had not cheated her. A few days ago, she slipped a small note into the other party's pocket, and the other party slipped $5 in return. This was really generous. S' expression was filled with joy, and her previous panic and anxiety immediately disappeared. She stuffed the small note into the tree hole, poked it several times with a thin stick, and then went down the mountain. Nimbly climbed down from a nearby maple tree and took out the small note from the tree hole. Seeing the words on the note, Wan Qiqi was so angry that she laughed. God darn, he is so lazy and gluttonous. If Zheng Jingyun was in front of her, she would definitely slap him a few times. He couldn't even get any information from her. This was the first time she had seen such a stupid enemy spy. And the sentence, "very much loved by father," also made her laugh. Wan Qiqi originally wanted to kill Zheng Jingyun, but now she has changed her mind. This woman is extremely stupid, so it is better to let her live and continue to provide information to the Japanese. She stuffed the small note back into the tree hole, asked the nearby trees to keep an eye on it, and then slowly walked down the mountain. Afternoon class, it was already dark. Wan Qiqi stretched her neck and sighed softly. It would be better not to experience such a hard college life. Next time she sees Pei Yuan, she will ask him if he can reduce the number of courses by half. It doesn't matter if he doesn't get a diploma. She doesn't care. For classes in the morning, for classes in the afternoon, and labor on weekends. This is much harder than college in my previous life. The mental hospital is much happier than this. After getting food from the cafeteria, Wan Qiqi walked back to the dormitory slowly. As soon as she reached the door, she heard He Hong saying, "Tomorrow is the dormitory hygiene inspection. Shangguan Qing, we have to do a thorough cleaning. I'll check it tomorrow afternoon. There's no rush." Shangguan Qing spoke in a calm tone, not in a hurry at all. "You still have classes tomorrow. If you clean up now, you won't have to worry about inspections tomorrow. Shangguan Qing, if you don't have experience in this area, I can help you arrange it." He Hong sounded eager to try. Although she became the secretary of the youth league committee of the class, she had not given up on the position of dormitory head and had always wanted to snatch it away. "Need not." Shangguan Qing speaks very concisely. He would never use 3 words if he could use 2. "What do you mean? You didn't arrange for anyone to clean the room, and you didn't allow me to help." Do you want our dormitory 309 to be rated as the worst dormitory in terms of hygiene? He Ihong's tone unconsciously became heavier, and her voice became louder. Noisy. Shang Guanqing uttered 2 words lightly, frowning slightly. He Ihong's face changed, and she wanted to argue with her. She had been holding a lot of anger since the beginning of the school year and was worried that she had no place to vent it. This time, she was determined to teach Shang Guanqing a lesson. Click, a crisp sound was heard. Everyone's eyes were focused on Shang Guanqing's left hand. A walnut was easily crushed into pieces by her 2 fingers. Gulp, He Ihong swallowed hard, and her heart beat very fast. Shang Guanqing gave them the walnuts yesterday, but they tried to squeeze them through the cracks in the door and almost broke the door. Finally, Su Erfeng went downstairs and smashed the walnuts with a brick, and they were able to eat the sweet walnut meat. The walnut that they had taken great pains to crack was easily crushed by Shang Guanqing with just 2 fingers. How much strength does it take? If I pinch her head, will her brain burst out? He Ihong imagined the scene of her head exploding, and she couldn't help but grit her teeth, and her head ached slightly. You are the dormitory head. You have the final say. He Ihong shut her mouth in frustration and sat down angrily. Although she admitted defeat, she was still unwilling to give up. She was furious and wanted to find a place to vent. Just then, Wan Qiqi came in with a bag of wild persimmons in her hand. There was a wild persimmon tree at the foot of the mountain, which bore many wild persimmons. They were not yet ripe and had to be covered with lime before they could be eaten. When Wan Qiqi came back, she saw several students picking them, so she also picked a bag. The wild persimmons of Yuelu Mountain are small but very sweet. Oh, wild persimmons. Where did you pick them, Qiqi? Li Yuqin also came back and was surprised to see the wild persimmons. There are a lot of them at the academy. Wan Qiqi poured the wild persimmons into a shoebox. There was no lime in the dormitory, so she stuffed an apple in it to ripen them faster. The persimmon tree in the academy belongs to the school and is public property. Wan Qiqi, you picked the persimmons without permission. This is called digging the socialist wall. He Ihong hadn't finished her words because she was interrupted by a persimmon. Wan Qiqi was too lazy to talk nonsense and directly popped a wild persimmon into her mouth accurately. He Ihong took the wild persimmon out of her mouth and said angrily, Wan Qiqi, you are simply behaving like a bandit. What's wrong with me pointing out your mistakes? Your husband is an officer. He should be strict with himself and set an example. How can he? Woo-woo. Wan Qiqi walked straight over and stuffed the persimmons back into her mouth. The wild persimmons were not big, smaller than eggs. She stuffed 2 of them into her mouth. He Ihong's mouth was bulging, and her overly mature face looked a little cute. Noisy. Wan Qiqi said this in a cold voice, pulled the pillowcase from her bed, and tied her to the bed frame with her backhand. He Ihong spat out the wild persimmon with difficulty and cursed, Wan Qiqi, what are you doing? Let me go. Calm down or I'll stuff Su Erfeng's socks in your mouth. Wan Qiqi threatened with a cold face, and He Ihong immediately shut up. Su Erfeng's feet were very smelly, and she would rather die than eat Su Erfeng's smelly socks. Su Erfeng, who was watching the fun with great interest, was suddenly called out. She shrank her feet in dismay, unable to say a word. Wan Qiqi peeled the persimmons with a fruit knife and stuffed the flesh into He Ihong's mouth. The unripe persimmons were numb and astringent. After eating them, her tongue and throat felt like they were stuck with glue, which was very uncomfortable. After feeding him a wild persimmon, Wan Qiqi let the man go. He Ihong rushed to the bathroom to rinse her mouth. She came back more than 10 minutes later, looking extremely embarrassed. I want to report. The teacher. He Ihong's voice was hoarse and mute, as if she had swallowed a mute drug. Only she could understand what was said. I can't hear you clearly. Please speak louder. Wan Qiqi tilted her head, put her hands to her ears, and asked seriously. You've gone too far. He Ihong was so angry that her eyes turned red. She had never suffered such injustice before. This Wan Qiqi was even more vicious than the bandits in Wulong Mountain. She wants to report to the teacher and punish Wan Qiqi severely. Student He, I told you not to eat wild persimmons, but you insisted on eating them. I've never seen anyone as greedy as you. Ruan Chichi shook her head as she spoke, her expression full of disgust.
I'm
not greedy. You forced me to eat. Hong's tears flowed uncontrollably. It was the first time in her life that she cried in front of so many people. It was also the first time I saw someone who could talk nonsense like Ruan Chichi. He was so shameless. I forced you to eat it? Who saw it? Did you see it? Ruan Chichi asked others very seriously. I didn't see it, Shangguan Qing said indifferently. I didn't notice. Zhang Jingyun, as always, did not offend either side.
I
didn't notice it either.
Su Feng.
What are you looking at?
I just got back.
What happened? Li Yuqin asked excitedly, thinking there was some gossip. Student He, you heard it, right? No one else saw it. You must have been so hungry that you had hallucinations. No wonder you were so greedy. Ruan Chichi smiled and turned a blind eye to Hong's grievance and anger. She was only giving her a slight punishment now. If she was angered, she would be more severe. You are all birds of a feather, in cahoots with each other. Hong roared angrily, but unfortunately her voice was too hoarse, and she only made a little hoarse sound, which had no effect.
I
want to talk to Teacher Jing. Hong wiped her tears vigorously and cried as she wanted to go to her class teacher to complain, but was stopped by Li Yuqin. Your voice is hoarse, and Teacher Jing can't hear you clearly. Wait until your voice gets better. This sentence made Hong sad again. The tears she had wiped away fell like rain. Looking at Ruan Chichi's arrogant look as if she was saying, I don't care about you, she felt even more aggrieved and burst into tears on the table. Ruan Chichi curled her lips. He was really green and playful, and he was also quite obsessed with power. He didn't look like someone who came from the Cutting Tail Society at all. She didn't know that although Hong was the director of the propaganda department, she was just a bystander in the tail-cutting society because her father was the director of the local tail-cutting society. With her father's protection, she didn't need to work hard at all. It was late at night, and the lights in the dormitory building were turned off. At first, there were some intermittent noises. The dormitory supervisor came to patrol every night. If he heard someone still refusing to go to bed, he would yell a few times, and the noise would suddenly stop and the room would be as quiet as a chicken. Ruan Chichi quietly slid down from the bed. The dormitory was very quiet. There was the sound of Su Erfeng grinding her teeth, Li Yuqin snoring, and Hong talking in her sleep. Bandit woman. I can never reconcile with you. Although she didn't mention any names, one could tell as soon as he heard it that this irreconcilable bandit woman must be her. Ruan Chichi curled her lips and walked to Zheng Jingyun's bed. She lived on the upper bunk of Su Erfeng and slept facing outwards. After opening the curtain, Ruan Chichi pinched Zheng Jingyun's nose. After a while, the woman opened her mouth, and a handkerchief was stuffed into it. Her neck was also pinched, so she couldn't make any sound. The wild persimmons in Yuelu Mountain must be red at this time, like lanterns, very beautiful. The scenery in this season is super beautiful. The more I write, the more I miss Changsha. It's so fascinating. Zheng Jingyun was sleeping soundly when she was awakened by a feeling of suffocation. Before she could react, her mouth was blocked and her neck was strangled. The cold hands were like snakes, pinching her neck, and could take her life at any time. She opened her eyes wide and saw a familiar figure in the darkness. I have a bad temper, and I am lazy. Ruan Chichi bared her big white teeth, which was particularly eye-catching in the dark. Zheng Jingyun understood these words and felt a chill on her back. Did Ruan Chichi know that she had stuffed the note into the tree hole? She thought again of the wild persimmons that Ruan Chichi brought back in the evening. There were wild persimmon trees at the foot of the mountain. This woman must have followed her. Follow me out and don't make any noise. Ruan Chichi had a dagger in her hand, and the cold blade was pointing at her carotid artery. Zheng Jingyun's pupils shrank with fear. She shook her head vigorously, indicating that she would never make a sound. Zheng Jingyun obediently got out of bed, not daring to make any sound, for fear that Ruan Chichi would stab her. Ruan Chichi, took her to the rooftop. The autumn evening breeze was very cold. Zheng Jingyun was only wearing thin pajamas and curled up in a ball due to the cold. I ask you questions, and you answer them. Don't scream, or I'll stab you to death. The dagger in Wan Qiqi's hand moved down to Zheng Jingyun's heart. The tip of the knife pierced through the thin fabric and pressed against her skin. Zheng Jingyun shook her head desperately, tears of fear streaming down her eyes. She didn't want to die. After finally escaping from the great northern wilderness, she still wants to go abroad to live a good life.
Who sent you?
Wan Qiqi asked in a low voice.
Woo-woo.
Zheng Jingyun's eyes were anxious, but her mouth was blocked and she couldn't speak. Wan Qiqi pulled the handkerchief out of her mouth and cried, "No one sent me here. I don't understand what you were saying. I am here to go to school." Although Zheng Jingyun was very afraid of death, she knew that the consequences of admitting it would be even worse. Since Wan Qiqi had no evidence, she could just deny it. Wan Qiqi sneered, without wasting time talking to her, turned around, and directly took out a fat snake, about 1 meter long. It was well-fed and well-fed in the space, and its temperament had become clear and stupid, and its reaction was extremely slow. The fat snake was on Wan Qiqi's wrist, unwilling to move. It was so cold outside, it was more comfortable in space. Although it was a lazy, gluttonous, and stupid snake, Zheng Jingyun was still scared to the point of having her scalp tingling because she was most afraid of snakes. Wan Qiqi covered her mouth with a handkerchief again, tied her limbs with a rope, and pressed her to the ground. Woo-woo. Zheng Jingyun cried and shook her head, her eyes begging. Don't worry, snakes don't eat people. They like to play games. If you play with them for a while, I will let you go back to sleep. Wan Qiqi patted the snake's head gently and smiled at her. Zheng Jingyun was not comforted and cried even harder. Sizzle was particularly harsh in the quiet night. Zheng Jingyun's pants were torn open. Wan Qiqi pulled them hard, and a gust of cold wind rushed in. Zheng Jingyun shivered with cold, and her eyes became even more frightened. I'm not a man. I can't make you angry. Don't worry. Wan Qiqi gave her reassurance and smiled slightly. Zheng Jingyun felt a little relieved, but Wan Qiqi's next words made her heart rise again. Although I can't make you angry, I can make you happy. Look, do you see it? It will definitely make you as happy as a god. Wan Qiqi squatted down, put the snake that was too lazy to grow hair on the ground, and patted the snake's head, signaling it to move. The fat snake slid forward at a snail's pace, but fortunately the distance was short, so even at a snail's pace, it quickly reached the destination. The cold snake scales floated on her skin. At this moment, Zheng Jingyun's senses became extremely sensitive, and the slightest contact could be amplified dozens of times at her nerve endings.
Whoa.
Zheng Jingyun's pupils shrank into a line, and the fear in her eyes became tangible. Even He Ai-hong, who was hiding in the dark, felt it. He Ai-hong was a light sleeper. When Wan Qiqi threatened Zheng Jingyun, she woke up and followed quietly. She did not expect to see such a scary scene. Ai-hong saw everything Wan Qiqi did, especially the snake. It scared He Ai-hong so much that her scalp was numb. At this moment, she suddenly thought of a possibility. Wan Qiqi is most likely a goo woman from Miaojiang. She is beautiful and carries poisonous insects with her. No one knows where the insects are hidden. Moreover, Wan Qiqi's actions are vicious, which completely meets the characteristics of a Miaojiang poison girl. He Ai-hong subconsciously touched her throat and felt uncomfortable all over. Her throat hasn't recovered yet. Could it be that Wan Qiqi had cast a curse on her during the day without anyone knowing? Fear surged up like a tide. He Ai-hong's whole body turned cold, and her heart sank to the bottom. A cold gaze shot through the night sky. He Ai-hong looked up and met Wan Qiqi's eyes. She was so scared that she quickly lowered her head and curled up into a ball, muttering to herself, "You can't see me, you definitely can't see me." After reciting for several minutes, He Ai-hong dared to raise her head. Seeing that Wan Qiqi didn't come over, she couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief and secretly comforted herself that she definitely didn't see her. Zheng Jingyun was so frightened that her soul left her body and her face was paler than a dead person. In fact, the snake did not do anything, it was just exploring the surroundings, but this woman's character was far worse than that of an eel.
Woo-woo.
Zheng Jingyun called anxiously. Wan Qiqi ignored her. When she turned around, there was another snake in her hand, which was wrapped around her neck. Suddenly smelling the scent of a stranger, the snake became very angry. It raised its head and spit out its tongue angrily. The cold letter was right next to Zheng Jingyun's lips, touching her mouth several times. Zheng Jingyun wanted to faint, but she was more awake than ever at this moment, and her eyesight was better than usual. In the darkness of the night, she could even clearly see the snake's scales and its cold pupils. Have you thought it through? If you continue to play tricks, Xiao Yinhuan will play with you. Wan Qiqi finished speaking. The snake in her hand turned into a beautiful coral reef snake. The highly poisonous coral reef snake was unusually well behaved in her hand. Zheng Jingyun shook her head vigorously. She didn't dare anymore and confessed everything. Wan Qiqi took the handkerchief out of her mouth and looked at her coldly. I've never seen his face. He always came to see me at night, covered from head to toe. He must be from the core because our core is far away from the village. There were a few times when it snowed heavily, and he always came to see me at night. No one in the great northern wilderness dared to travel on a snowy night. Is he a man? It should be a man. He speaks like a man and is half a head taller than me. Zheng Jingyun wasn't so sure. Wan Qiqi looked her up and down. This woman was at most 160 centimeters tall, half a head taller or 170 centimeters tall. However, people in northeast China are generally tall, and many women are 170 centimeters tall. What did he ask you to do? They just stared at you, recorded your every move, and stuffed it into a tree hole on the mountain. I could get 5 yuan each time. The man also said that he could let me go abroad. I really didn't know who he was. I wanted to leave the great northern wilderness, so much that I was bewitched. I'm sorry, I really didn't mean to hurt anyone. The man said that he just needed to record your daily life, and I didn't need to do anything else, so I agreed. Zheng Jingyun shed tears of regret, but it was unclear whether she regretted taking this mission or regretted being so careless and exposed. Wan Qiqi sneered, It's just crocodile tears. I'll give you a chance to atone for your sins. You can continue to provide information to them in the future, but you have to write the contents of the paper according to what I say. If you do a good job, you'll be the only one to go to jail. If you dare to tip off the information, your whole family will be imprisoned. I'll listen to you. Please spare my family. They don't know anything. Zheng Jingyun cried and kowtowed for mercy. At this moment, she really regretted it. No matter how hard life was in the great northern wilderness, at least she was still alive and had the chance to return to the city, and her family would not be implicated. Now, everything is over. The third update is finished. Yuelu Mountain is really beautiful in autumn. The mountains are all red and the forests are all dyed red. Wan Qiqi asked some other questions, but Zheng Jingyun knew nothing. She only knew that she had to stuff notes into the tree hole at regular intervals and that she would be rewarded $5 each time. She knew nothing else. This woman stayed in the great northern wilderness for 4 years. She worked honestly in the first 3 years, but later she took a shortcut and hooked up with the son of a high-ranking official from the capital. She didn't have to do any heavy work and could eat and drink well, living a very carefree life. Unfortunately, the good times did not last long. This son of a high-ranking official returned to the city in June. Without her support, Zheng Jingyun was back to square one. However, she had been well-fed for a year, and her body was delicate and fragile. How could she endure the hard work every day? So she started to pretend to be sick. She still had some money in her hand, and after a month, the money was almost gone. When Zheng Jingyun was worried, the mysterious man appeared, gave her some money, and promised to let her go to college. A big pie falling from the sky, and Zheng Jingyun agreed, without hesitation for too long. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I just wanted to leave the great northern wilderness. It's not a place for humans to stay. I really can't stand it anymore. Zheng Jingyun cried and defended herself. She felt that the little notes she wrote could not possibly cause any harm to Ruan Chichi. Ruan Chichi took out a licorice tablet from the space. This thing tasted terrible. She was most afraid of eating this when she was a child. This medicine also liked to get stuck in the throat and stick to the throat. It was more uncomfortable than poison. When she stuffed the licorice tablets into Zheng Jingyun's mouth, the bitter taste made her subconsciously want to spit them out. The little silver ring's lively head appeared beside her mouth. She was so scared that she closed her mouth tightly and swallowed the licorice tablets forcefully, feeling very nervous. Don't worry, it's not poison. Have you heard of the corpse driving in Xiangxi? Ruan Chichi spoke in a gentle tone and chatted with her about family matters. Zheng Jingyun nodded. Her hometown was there, so how could she not know? What you're eating has nothing to do with corpse carrying. Since you know about corpse carrying, you must also know about another specialty of Xiangxi, right? Ruan Chichi asked with a smile. Zheng Jingyun's face turned pale. The licorice tablets she had just swallowed seemed to have grown legs and were moving around in her stomach. Congratulations, you guessed it right. What you just ate was a goo. It has a nice name called Love You for 10,000 years. Why is it called this? I am exaggerating. It means that this goo can accompany you for the rest of your life, until you die. You don't have to be too scared. My goo has a good temper. You won't feel anything in your body. But after a long time, your face will be like a scabby, covered with bumps and pus, dripping down. Ruan Chichi has a talent for storytelling, and she tells it vividly. Zheng Jingyun's mind flashed with a picture of her face covered with pimples and oozing with foul-smelling pus. Don't want. She would rather die. I listen to you. I listen to you. I will do whatever you tell me to do. Please give me the antidote. Zheng Jingyun was completely subdued and expressed her loyalty while crying. As long as you obey me, I will keep you safe. Otherwise, Ruan Chichi didn't say anything else. Her face was cold. Zheng Jingyun was shaking like a sieve, half from the cold and half from fear. She said again that she would obey. If you tell me to go east, I will definitely not go west. Go back as usual. No. Zheng Jingyun breathed a sigh of relief. She touched her face and found it smooth without any pimples. She felt relieved. As long as she was obedient and made Ruan Chichi happy, maybe she wouldn't report her. After Zheng Jingyun left, Ruan Chichi slowly went downstairs. When she passed through the door to the rooftop, she looked to the right and saw a tall sycamore tree there. Shangguan Qing was hiding very well on the tree, and ordinary people would never be able to find him. Ruan Chichi didn't expose it. She pretended not to see it and went downstairs directly. Shangguan Qing on the tree was very curious about Ruan Chichi's identity. Before coming to school, her leader did not tell her that there was such a powerful character in the class. But she was sure that Ruan Chichi was a friend, not an enemy. Ruan Chichi had already discovered her just now, but did not expose her. It was obvious that she knew her identity. On the rooftop, it was He Ai-hong, who was so scared that her legs went limp. After a long time, she was able to stand up with difficulty and moved step by step, holding onto the wall. The cold sweat on her back was dried by the wind, sticking to her skin, colder than ice. At this moment, He Ai-hong felt cold and scared, and regretted deeply. If she had known that Ruan Chichi was a goo player, why would she have offended this devil? She touched her throat again, feeling extremely frightened. Could it be that Ruan Chichi had also cast a curse on her? And those snakes, Ruan Chichi must be hiding in the dormitory. They are extremely poisonous coral snakes. The thought of being accompanied by several poisonous snakes every day, it is even possible that the poisonous snakes crawled onto her bed while she was sleeping. He Ai-hong didn't dare to think about it anymore. She returned to the dormitory like a wandering soul, and she had completely lost the desire to complain. She gently opened the door and tiptoed towards the bed. You went out to steal in the middle of the night? Ruan Chichi's voice rang in her ears. He Ai-hong's hair stood up. She opened her mouth to scream, but her voice was blocked by a handkerchief. Sleep. Ruan Chichi glared at him with disdain and went to bed. He Ai-hong, a long time to come back to her senses. She pulled out her handkerchief with trembling hands, wiped her tears, and then went to bed. The school year have now vanished. Her biggest wish now is to get through 2 years of college life safely and return home safely. Sheng Wanqing also came back. She moved very quietly, like a ghost, and got on the bed silently. At 6 o'clock the next morning, singing began on the radio and the dormitory building became unusually busy. Usually the most active did not get up today. She had a high fever and could not get out of bed. I'll get up and clean up. Hei-hong's mind was confused, and she thought it was afternoon. She struggled to get up and clean up, but Wan Qiqi pushed her down and said coldly, "Just lie down." Hei-hong was so delirious with fever that she couldn't hear anyone's words. But when she heard Wan Qiqi's voice, she immediately became quiet and lay there motionless, even breathing carefully. In Sheng Wanqing's eyes, there are 4 classes in the morning and cleaning at noon. Sheng Wanqing assigned tasks to everyone, except Hei-hong. The dormitory is cleaned every day and is not dirty. After working together for half an hour, it is clean. The most difficult thing is to fold the quilt. The school requires that we must fold the tofu block quilt of the army, which is square and has edges and corners. Wan Qiqi just couldn't fold the quilt properly. She had never folded the quilt before. When she got up in the morning, she would just spread out the quilt, and there was no need to fold it. Sheng Wanqing and Zheng Jingyun were the best at folding. Hei-hong could also fold, but she didn't have a chance to show off because she was too sleepy. Su Erfeng and Li Yuqin learned how to fold the quilt in just a few minutes, and they did it very successfully. However, Wan Qiqi was the only one who couldn't learn it, and she was so angry that she wanted to tear the quilt apart. "Let me fold it." Zheng Jingyun had already moved over and wanted to flatter him, but Sheng Wanqing got there first, so she retreated in disappointment. Sheng Wanqing was very skillful and folded it in just 2 or 3 moves. "Go to sleep. You can still sleep for half an hour." Sheng Wanqing looked at his watch and went to bed. Everyone carefully moved the tofu blanket aside and covered it with their coats so as not to affect the evening inspection. Another week passed, and Hei-hong was the one who changed the most in the dormitory. She became more taciturn and stopped speaking in official language. She was much more likable than before. It was time for Zheng Jingyun to slip a note. Wan Qiqi dictated and she wrote, "Wan Qiqi is extremely greedy. I gave her $1 and she washed my clothes for a week, even my underwear. She didn't really need $1, but she was very greedy. Maybe it had something to do with her rural background. Money can bring her a sense of security." Zheng Jingyun wrote the note in fear, not understanding what Wan Qiqi was up to. She went to the back mountain and stuffed the note into the tree hole. There was also $5 on the note. She gave the money to Wan Qiqi, hoping to get a reduced sentence. "Take the flowers and buy things as before. Don't let the other party get suspicious." Wan Qiqi didn't want it. Shushu had already told her that the person who stuffed the money into the tree hole was an inconspicuous cleaner in the school, a man in his 50s, an old widower. Everyone called him Master Lu. The next time she slipped a note, Wan Qiqi asked her to write, "Wan Qiqi and I have become close friends. She told me a lot of her innermost thoughts. Although she married an officer, it was only a superficial glory. The officer's family looked down on her, and she didn't hand over her salary. No wonder she was so eager for money. She was very strong, several times stronger than a middle-aged man. By chance, she caught a very powerful enemy spy and received a bonus of 100 yuan. She was very happy. Unfortunately, such good things don't happen every day. She was very regretful." Zheng Jingyun didn't dare to ask more questions, so she just wrote down the instructions and went to fill the tree hole, earning another $5. That night, everyone in the dormitory was asleep. Wan Qiqi put on her nightgown, left the dormitory, and went to find Master Lu. After inquiring these days, she did not find the radio in Master Lu's house. It was obvious that Master Lu had someone above him, so she kept her troops on hold and waited for Master Lu to report to his superiors. Lu lives behind the school. It used to be a warehouse for sundries. Later, due to housing shortage in the school, they divided a dozen rooms and distributed them to single teachers in the school as dormitories. It was late at night, and Master Lu's room was pitch black, but he was not asleep. He had just returned from the back mountain with a small note in his hand. He read it with a flashlight, and a sarcastic sneer appeared on his honest face. The eel actually died at the hands of such a greedy and stupid Chinese woman. How sad. Lu did not doubt Zheng Jingyun's information. This woman was carefully selected by them. She was vain, greedy for pleasure, good at acting, and she was Chinese. Wan Qiqi would definitely not doubt it. The message that Il passed back said that Wan Qiqi was a very powerful agent of China, and her methods were extremely cruel. The Empire must kill this woman. Now it seems that Il was just forcing himself to change his status to make up for his incompetence. He didn't see what was so great about Wan Qiqi. Lu burned the note and had to report the latest news about Wan Qiqi to his superiors. Since this woman was greedy for money, he would tempt her with money and then kill her when she was off guard. Although this woman was stupid and greedy, she must have been extremely skilled. Otherwise the eel would not have died. Lu smoked a cigarette. The red cigarette but flickered in the darkness, shining on his honest face, looking particularly strange. After finishing his cigarette, Master Lu prepared to go to bed. He limped to the bed and fell asleep with his clothes on. It was said that his leg was injured in a bombing, so he would often curse the Japanese and say that he would never reconcile with them. The teachers and students in the school never doubted his identity. Even Tian Yuguang was Master Lu's subordinate. All the photos taken by Tian Yuguang were handed over to Master Lu for processing. However, Tian Yuguang had never met Master Lu. He often passed by the limping Master Lu at school. Wan Qiqi didn't dare to get too close, fearing that Master Lu was a kung fu master like Il. Lu fell asleep. She asked Shushu to keep an eye on him and then went back to the dormitory. The next day, Wan Qiqi didn't go to class, and she asked for leave. Because Master Lu went out, Shushu told her that Master Lu went out once a month, and he told people at school that he was going to a mental hospital to visit his wife. His wife was bullied by the Japanese and became mentally ill. She didn't even recognize him and would go crazy and beat anyone she saw. Master Lu had no choice but to send his wife to a mental hospital where he would visit her every month. Because of the tragic experience of Master Lu and his wife, as well as his steadfast loyalty to his wife, Master Lu has a very good reputation in the school, and even the principal is polite to him. Wan Qiqi eliminated everyone around Master Lu and finally set her sights on the mental hospital. The mysterious superior is most likely his wife, who is in a mental hospital. Lu visits his wife every month, actually to pass on information. If nothing unexpected happens, the wife in the mental hospital must have a radio transmitter in her hand. The Japanese are indeed cunning. Who would have thought that enemy spies would hide in a mental hospital? The mental hospital was far away from the city, and Wan Qiqi rode her bike for an hour to get there. She did not go in to look for anyone, but first asked Shushu, and soon found out about the situation of Master Lu's wife. That woman went crazy every day, and even jumped from the 4th floor. She almost died. Gossip Ginkgo knows Master Lu's wife, who is the most troublesome patient in the hospital. No matter how crazy other patients are, they will have moments of clarity, but this woman has been in a state of madness and has tried to end her life many times. If it weren't for the hospital's adequate supervision, this woman would have died long ago. Wan Qiqi frowned. If Master Lu's wife was pretending to be crazy, she might be able to hide it from the doctor, but she would definitely not be able to hide it from Shushu. It is impossible for people to act 24 hours a day. There will always be times when they slack off, and no one will be on guard against trees, so Master Lu's wife is really crazy. Then she is definitely not Master Lu's superior. She thought she had found the right person, but unexpectedly, she found the wrong person. Wan Qiqi was not discouraged. She was sure that this mysterious superior must be in a mental hospital. It could be a doctor, a nurse, a cleaner, or a patient. Lu had finished visiting his wife and was ready to leave. He walked slowly with a limp, greeting the medical staff along the way, appearing to be very familiar with them. Dr. Song. Lu greeted a doctor who was walking towards him. The doctor was wearing a white coat, about 50 years old, wearing glasses, of medium height, and with an elegant temperament. He stopped and talked to Master Lu. "Have you seen your lover?" "I've seen it, but you still don't recognize me." Lu sighed, looking gloomy. "I haven't tried to commit suicide recently. Maybe I'll recognize you after a while." Dr. Song comforted him and patted him on the shoulder gently. "Thank you for your good words. If you can really get better, I will burn incense for you." Lu became more and more excited as he spoke, and he even wanted to kneel down and kowtow. Dr. Song quickly supported him, and the two of them were in a stalemate for a long time. "Don't be like this. I'm a doctor. It's my duty to cure your lover. Get up quickly." Dr. Song helped him up and tried to comfort him, but he put one of his hands in his pocket, which contained the information he had just received from Master Lu. "Thanks." Lu kept saying thank you, perfectly portraying an uneducated lower-class person. He exchanged glances with Dr. Song and limped away. There was more money in his pocket, which was his working capital for this month. Wan Qiqi hid in the corner and saw everything clearly, not even missing the little movements between the two people. It is obvious that Dr. Song is Master Lu's superior. She was about to leave when Dr. Song turned his head sharply, paused for a few seconds, and walked towards her. "Doctor, have you seen my dog Dudu?" Wan Qiqi took the initiative to walk towards him and asked in a very normal tone. "Who is Dudu?" Dr. Song asked. "You don't even know Dudu?" "It's my cub. I have two cubs, one is Dudu and the other is Chio. This morning, Dudu was disobedient, so I criticized him a few times. Dudu got angry and ran away from home. Now Chio keeps clamoring for Dudu. Doctor, do you know where Dudu is? The cubs are so noisy when they make noises. It's a headache for me." Wan Qiqi spoke faster and faster and took out an orange from her pocket, handed it to Dr. Song like a treasure, and asked mysteriously, "It's Chio, my little one, look. Doesn't this face look like me? It's pretty, isn't it?" Dr. Song looked between Jizzy and Wan Qiqi very seriously, and then said seriously, "Yes, it looks exactly like you." "Ha ha ha, you are so stupid. This is obviously an orange. I am a human. How can I give birth to an orange, you stupid pighead?" Wan Qiqi laughed triumphantly, peeled the orange in front of Dr. Song, and ate it with relish. Dr. Song's suspicions were immediately dispelled. It was obvious that this patient was in the late stage of mental illness. A normal person could not exhibit such insanity, so he was definitely not a spy. "Do you want to eat it? It's very sweet." Wan Qiqi enthusiastically invited him to eat oranges. Dr. Song peeled a piece and put it in his mouth. He chewed it for a few times, and it was so sour that his face was distorted. "Ha ha ha, you stupid fool. If this orange was really sweet, how could I possibly treat you to it?" Wan Qiqi clapped her hands and laughed, and several patients gathered around and laughed too. "You stupid pighead. You only treat people to sour oranges. You are so stupid." The patients were all making fun of Dr. Song's stupidity. They and Wan Qiqi hit it off right away, like relatives who hadn't seen each other for many years. They got along really well. Dr. Song spat out the orange and was about to leave, but was stopped by Wan Qiqi, who tilted her head and asked innocently, "Are you a doctor or a patient?" "I am a doctor." Dr. Song was very patient and pointed to his white coat. "No. How can a doctor be so stupid? Let me test you." Wan Qiqi didn't believe it, and neither did the other patients. They joined in the commotion and stopped Dr. Song from leaving. Dr. Song had no choice but to listen to her questions. "Let me ask you a simple question. If the bathtub is full of water and there is a bowl and a wash basin next to it, how can I drain the water as quickly as possible?" Wan Qiqi asked about a joke that was very famous on the internet in his previous life. "Of course, I use a basin." Dr. Song burst out laughing. "Even a 3-year-old child can choose a wash basin. You are so stupid that you just pulled the plug of the bathtub and it all came out." The patients looked at him with disgust, saying that he couldn't even answer such a simple question and was truly a fool. "Yeah. Why don't you unplug it?" Wan Qiqi looked at Dr. Song sympathetically with a look that said, "How could you be so stupid?" Dr. Song gritted his teeth, feeling furious. He forced a smile, pushed away the group of people surrounding him, and hurried away, his back looking somewhat panicked. Where are you from? Someone asked. I came from where I came from, and I'm going to where I'm going. You ordinary people won't understand. Wan Chichi answered in a mysterious way, and the patients around him immediately looked respectful. Dr. Song also heard it and looked back. He saw Wan Chichi, surrounded by the patients like a star. It was obvious that they often played together, so he felt completely relieved. There are so many patients in the hospital, so it is normal to see a few unfamiliar faces. He doesn't need to be suspicious. Returned to the office and took out the information from his pocket. Master Lu summarized Zheng Jingyun's note and simply put it as follows: extremely greedy for money, very strong. Dr. Song smiled and said to himself, "Eel, oh Eel, it's so sad that you died at the hands of such a woman." He had the same idea as Master Lu, thinking that Eel praised Wan Chichi so highly just to save face. In fact, Wan Chichi was just a greedy woman with greater strength. By his superiors were to eliminate Wan Chichi by any means necessary and avenge Eel. Since Wan Chichi is greedy, then use money to charm her, and then kill her without anyone knowing so that I can report to my superiors. Wan Chichi thrived in the mental hospital. He quickly became friends with the patients and used candies and snacks to become their boss at the speed of light. I'm going to go back to sleep. If that stupid doctor comes to see me, do you know what to say? Wan Chichi was going back to school. Before leaving, she gave some training to the new brothers to prevent Dr. Song from coming looking for them.
No.
The younger brothers answered in unison, and then started talking at once. You want to chat with Sakyamuni. Let's go fight the Japs. You should go back and cook mangpa soup. If you are late, the king of hell will deduct your bonus. Everyone's answer was different. Shen Jingbing's imagination really broke through the three-dimensional world and reached the four-dimensional world ahead of time. Wan Chichi left with great peace of mind. After returning to school, she continued her busy and fulfilling studies. Zheng Jingyun received instructions from Master Lu and 10 yuan. 10 coins were the bait to lure Wan Chichi. Master Lu asked her to use the money to conquer Wan Chichi and trick her into going mountain climbing on the weekend. Zheng Jingyun did not dare to hide a single word and reported everything. Wan Chichi looked at the 10 yuan with disdain. It was outrageous that the Japanese devil only used 10 yuan to humiliate her. But she still had to climb the mountain on the weekend. The Japanese must want to deal with her on the mountain. She didn't know how many people they sent, but she was not afraid no matter how many people there were. Yuelu Mountain was full of trees, and that was her home ground. Reply to him and go hiking on Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. Wan Chichi asked Zheng Jingyun to reply. Zheng Jingyun obediently wrote the note, ran to the back mountain and stuffed it into a tree hole, then came back anxiously. She had a bad feeling that something bad would happen if she went hiking on Sunday. Is it okay if I don't go hiking on Sunday? Zheng Jingyun asked courageously. Can you have fried peanuts on Saturday? Wan Chichi looked at her with a mocking expression. Zheng Jingyun's face turned pale, and a chill ran down her back. She shook her head vigorously and said in a trembling voice, I'm going to climb the mountain for sure. Climbing to the top of a mountain will only result in breaking your legs, but not climbing the mountain may cost you your life. Saturday was still a day of working as usual. Wan Chichi and the ant had become a very good pair. Every time she went to work, the ant would take her away, calling it work. In fact, Wan Chichi just lay comfortably, and at noon she had the carefully prepared meals by the ant. She lived a very comfortable life. Louis didn't come to pick her up this week, because he was on a mission again. Wan Chichi simply didn't go back to the compound and stayed in the school. The next day, she went to the cafeteria to have breakfast and then went hiking with Zheng Jingyun. There are quite a few people climbing the mountain on weekends, mostly teachers and students from universities at the foot of the mountain. Wan Chichi was walking calmly, when suddenly her eyes lit up. Like lightning, she took 3 steps at a time, rushed over and stepped on the Great Unity, so fast that even Zheng Jingyun couldn't react. Master Lu, who was hiding in the dark, was very satisfied with Wan Chichi's performance. He realized that he was indeed a greedy person. This made things easy. So, on the road ahead, a big Unity banknote would drop from time to time. Wan Chi picked up money along the way and was so happy that she couldn't close her mouth. She was so immersed in the joy of picking up money that she didn't notice that the road was getting narrower and there were fewer and fewer people. They unknowingly entered a maple forest. The forest was very quiet, with birds singing from time to time, making it seem very peaceful and tranquil. Wan Chi was counting the money he had just picked up. Wow, a net profit of $20. She put the money in her pocket and pulled Jingjing to the main road. Then a gust of wind came shooting over. It was a crossbow arrow that was poisoned. If it pierced the skin a little, the person would die instantly from the poison. Wan Chi tilted her body and nimbly avoided the crossbow arrow. At the same time, a stone was thrown over and collided with the crossbow arrow, causing sparks to fly. The crossbow arrow changed direction and pierced into a maple tree. The third update is finished. I will go out to see the autumn sun tomorrow and climb Mount Sanqing by the way. I will update regularly. Good night. Wan Chi found a tree as cover, took out a bone whip from her bag, and looked around vigilantly. Zheng Jingyun was so scared that she held her head and screamed. The shrill cry startled a group of birds, which fluttered away. Noisy. Wan Chi pulled hard, and Zheng Jingyun fainted and became quiet. After the person in the dark shot a crossbow arrow, there was no movement. The forest was extremely quiet, so quiet that you could hear your own breathing and heartbeat. Wan Chi was leaning against a sturdy maple tree, holding a bone whip. She seemed to be observing the surroundings, but in fact she was communicating with the tree. There are 3 of them, and there's one on top of you. I'll get it off for you. Feng Shu's tone was very excited. His boring life finally had some fun. Lying in ambush on the tree, holding a knife in his hand, stared closely at Wan Chi below, wanting to chop her in half with one blow. He took a deep breath and prepared to jump, several branches wrapped around him tightly like snakes. He used all his strength to break free but couldn't. Before he could react, the branches sent him precisely in front of Wan Chi. Wan Chi raised the corner of her mouth in a cold smile. The bone whip in her hand flexibly wrapped around the man's neck. With another push, the man rolled his eyes. Crack, 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 crack. 4 sounds were heard in succession, and Wan Chi moved quickly, removing the man's limbs. Then she whistled, and a few lovely canes were thrown at the terrified man like sandbags. The man wanted to come over to support his companion, but as soon as he raised his feet, he found that he could not move, and his limbs were tightly wrapped with vines. Wan Chi smiled sweetly at him, without saying a word, and directly disassembled his limbs. Took no more than 3 minutes in total to easily deal with the 2. Shang Guanqing, who was hiding in the dark, originally wanted to help, but now changed her mind. Wan Chi was so powerful that she didn't need to help at all. Wan Chi swung the bone whip and walked to the left. Master Lu, who was hung upside down by the vine, was struggling desperately, like a dying insect on a spider web. "Want to come down?" Wan Chi looked up and asked. Lu fell silent. He didn't say a word and looked at her gloomily. Suddenly, he smiled strangely and prepared to bite the poison sac in his teeth. Snap! The bone whip hit his chin, and with a click, his jaw was broken. Lu opened his mouth wide, drooling, and looked like he had cerebral palsy. His eyes were full of fear, and he had completely lost his previous calmness. The news that Il sent back before his death said that this woman was an extremely perverted interrogation expert, and even Il, who had received cruel training, could not withstand this woman's interrogation. He thought he was no better than the eel and would definitely not be able to bear it, so he might as well take the poison and be loyal to Tian Huang. But his wish was not fulfilled. "Afraid of me?" Wan Chi smiled and asked, "How did Il spread the news to you? Did he spread rumors about me? It's obvious that he is useless and can't stand any pain. I know you are more capable than Il when I see you. I will be gentler later." Lu's eyes were filled with even more fear, and his body was tense. "Tell me your accomplices, and I can spare your life and give you a safe identity so you can return home safely." Wan Chi threw out an attractive bait. Lu's expression changed slightly, and he quickly lowered his head, feeling very excited. He dreams of going home, but can he really go back? Woo-woo. Lu called out a few times, his eyes anxious. Wan Chi-Chi whipped it with a whip, and with a click, the jaw closed. Can you really guarantee that? Lu asked hopefully after his jaw closed. Of course, we Chinese always keep our word. Wan Chi-Chi gave the assurance with great sincerity, and it sounded as if it were the truth. Lu was still hesitating. Wan Chi-Chi became impatient, whipped him again, and said viciously, "It doesn't matter if you don't say it. Now I'll let you see my tricks." She whistled, and the cane obediently sent one of his accomplices over. The man's limbs and jaw were broken, and he couldn't make any sound, but he was not panicked but very calm. Wan Chi-Chi knew that there was no need to waste time on this kind of person. Since he couldn't get anything out of him, it would be better to kill the chicken to scare the monkey. It looks pretty plump and tender. It must be delicious, right? Wan Chi-Chi lifted the man's chin with a bone whip and looked at him with a look of great satisfaction, but the words she said were confusing. The scene at this moment had nothing to do with the word delicious. Master Lu's face changed slightly, and fear surged in his heart. Could it be that this female devil wanted to cook her companions into barbecue? Wan Chi-Chi was not in a hurry to take action. She gently patted a sturdy maple tree. This maple tree was the oldest in the forest, and the boss of the maple trees in the forest. All the plants in the forest listened to it. Successful capture of the 3 Japanese devils. Don't worry, you'll be able to enjoy your feast soon. Wan Chi-Chi gently patted the excited boss Feng. Many trees love to eat meat, especially the older ones, who need to eat some meat as a tonic. The ground suddenly rolled up, soon revealing dense tree roots covered with fresh soil. The 3 Japanese soldiers realized that something was wrong, and they wanted to escape, but they couldn't. Soon, they saw a scene that they would never forget. The fat and tender little Japanese soldier that Wan Chi-Chi was praising was rolled up under the roots of the tree by the branches of Boss Feng. The thick roots wrapped the man tightly, like a snake.
Woo-woo.
The man's jaw had not yet closed, and he could only make low whimpering sounds. His face was distorted in pain, and his body was twisted into a very strange posture. Boss Feng has a lot of roots. In addition to the thick roots, there are also many thin roots. The thick roots will entangle people, and the roots, like small snakes, will penetrate the man's body like straws. The man was clearly aware of the pain in his body. He opened his mouth wide and let out a few cries, his eyes fixed in the direction of Master Lu. Lu miraculously understood his look. He must be questioning him. Isn't she a stupid, greedy Chinese woman? Why is she so perverted? Lu was filled with guilt and fear. He turned his head away and dared not look again. Watch carefully. Wan Chi-Chi's whip clamped around his head and pulled him back, forcing him to watch how his companion was devoured by Boss Feng. Boss Feng had thousands of roots that pierced into the man's body, greedily absorbing blood and flesh. After all, it hadn't had any tonic for a long time. The man died in agony, his eyes wide open as he stared in the direction of Master Lu. After a few minutes, his plump body became shriveled, like a skeleton in clothes. After eating and drinking his fill, Boss Feng swayed the branches all over his body with happiness, thanking Wan Chi-Chi for the gift. "You're welcome. You deserve it." Wan Chi-Chi used a whip to roll the body out of the pit and took it back to hand in the head. This is a new skill she has unlocked. From now on, all the ugly little Japanese will be taken to the mountains to feed the trees. This is called making full use of garbage, and it is so environmentally friendly. Have you thought it through? Do you want to be like him, or confess? Wan Chi-Chi asked coldly, a shriveled corpse lying at her feet. A plump and juicy person turned into a skeleton in less than 5 minutes. At this moment, Master Lu finally realized Wan Chi-Chi's desires. Moreover, this woman has the magical ability to command trees. The eel never discovered this secret until his death. He has to find a way to tell the mantis and report it to the headquarters. Mantis is the code name of Dr. Song, and he is also the superior of Master Lu and his colleagues. Lu had beautiful thoughts, but the reality was cruel. The other Japanese soldier was terrified by the tragic death of his companion, and his spirit completely collapsed. He confessed everything he knew, but there was no useful news. Mantis provides the funds for the activities. All the intelligence we have will be fed back to Mantis, who will then report to the headquarters. Mantis also has another group of people, but we have never met them and do not know their situation, but they are definitely in Tanjo City. Wan Chichi frowned slightly. Dr. Song was the Mantis, and he had quite a few people under him. If she could catch all these devils in one fell swoop, she might be able to surpass Tyrannosaurus and take first place. She was too lazy to interrogate Master Lu again, so she just knocked him unconscious and tied him up with rattan. She was a little worried. It would be a bit difficult for two people and a corpse to get down the mountain, and there was no phone on the mountain. I'll go make a phone call. Please help me take a look. Wan Chichi said loudly.
Good.
A low voice came from the woods, and it was impossible to tell whether it was from a man or a woman. Wan Chichi smiled. She knew who it was. Since Shangguan Qing didn't want to show up, she would just pretend she didn't know. She quickly ran down the mountain, found the nearest phone number, called Pei Yuan, and asked him to send someone to move the person. Then she went up the mountain again. When she was almost there, she slowed down and saw from a distance that Jing Jingyan moved a few times and was about to wake up. Then a stone hit her temple, and she fainted again. When Wan Chichi approached, she saw that Master Lu and his companion also had wounds on their temples. It was obvious that these two people had woken up, but were knocked unconscious by the stone shot by Shangguan Qing. This girl is so fun. Thank you. My companion is coming soon. Wan Chichi thanked loudly. The other party did not respond, but Wan Chichi knew that Shangguan Qing had left. An hour later, Comrade Xiao Chao rushed over. When he saw the 3 Japanese soldiers on the ground, his eyes lit up. After a careful inspection, he kicked each of them with disgust. Each one is uglier than the other. They are not even worthy of being fed to dogs. Why are you so idle? Don't you have to go on a mission? Wan Chichi asked curiously. It was always this guy who had to carry people. He was so idle that he was about to grow hair. You won't see me again for another week. Comrade Xiao Chao snorted proudly, picked up a Japanese soldier in one hand, and walked quickly down the mountain. Wan Chichi wrapped the corpse with a whip and dragged it down the mountain. They took a shortcut and didn't meet anyone. They parked the car at the foot of the mountain and soon returned to the headquarters. Wan Chichi didn't mention the Mantis, because if she did, Pei Yuan would definitely send people to support her. She didn't want to share the credit, and she was counting on relying on this Mantis to defeat the Tyrannosaurus. How many points are there between me and that little bug? The school year, she ranked 3rd, 1 place behind the 2nd place, but quite a bit behind the 1st place, about 10 places as she remembered. You are currently ranked 2nd, 7 behind Tyrannosaurus.
Come on.
Pei Yuan smiled so hard that his teeth were showing. He had originally planned to compete for the 1st place again next year, but he didn't expect Wan Chichi to give him a big surprise. What a great treasure.
New.
Wan Chichi raised her chin proudly. If they could capture Dr. Song's group of people, they should be able to surpass Xiao Chongzi. That woman was crying and wanted to see you. Comrade Xiao Chao came in, speaking in an impatient tone. After Zheng Jingyan woke up, she cried and insisted on seeing Wan Chichi, which gave him a headache. He could be ruthless to the Japanese, but he would hesitate to deal with his compatriots, even if they were traitors. Pei Yuan has criticized him many times, and he is slowly changing, but just like a dog will always eat shoot, his soft-hearted habit is really hard to change. No, can anyone see me? Wan Chichi ruthlessly refused, saying that a man who had betrayed his motherland had no right to ask to see her. People like Zheng Jingyan were the most hateful traitors during the war years. She is not worthy of being a descendant of the Yellow Emperor. Comrade Xiao Chao continued the interrogation, and after a while, he came back. The lame Japanese soldier and the woman both said that you promised to keep them safe and that you could let the lame Japanese soldier return home. Comrade Xiao Chao was in a bit of a dilemma because he attached great importance to his promises and he had to fulfill them once he made them. I did promise, but you didn't. I don't have the final say on 759. Wan Chichi sneered, thinking that Comrade Xiao Chao's IQ was about the same as that of brother Lu Jiefeng. No wonder he got into trouble half a year, out of a year. If it weren't for this guy's powerful supernatural powers, Pei Yuan would have returned the product long ago. Comrade Xiao Chao was stunned for a few seconds, and his mind was unable to process what was going on. After a long time, his eyes lit up and he said happily, "Yes, why didn't I think of this before?" He had to fulfill so many promises, and he was exhausted. Bring a copy of 36 Stratagems with you when you run. Read it when you feel tired. It helps replenish your brain. Wan Chichi patted him on the shoulder and gave him some sincere advice.
Oh,
Comrade Xiao Chao accepted it very humbly. He quickly walked to the bookcase behind Pei Yuan, took out the 36 strategies with curled edges, and stuffed it into his clothes without hesitation. Can't you just go buy one yourself? Pei Yuan was annoyed. Books cost money. Comrade Xiao Chao is very confident that you can get something for free if you spend money on it. Remember to return my book after you finish reading it. Also, if you damage my book, I won't forgive you. Pei Yuan's tone was very serious. He hated people who didn't cherish books.
no.
Comrade Xiao Chao left with the book. Wan Chichi asked Pei Yuan about Sheng Guanqing's background. Is she also from Unit 759? Sheng Guanqing is very skilled and is definitely not an ordinary person. No, she is an instructor in the Sharp Knife Company. She has won 3 first-class merits and many second-class and third-class merits. She went to school to recuperate. Pei Yuan mentioned Sheng Guanqing. His tone was full of appreciation and even a bit of respect. Wan Chichi was also in awe. The Sharp Knife Company was the special forces of later generations and was basically composed of men. Sheng Guanqing was able to become an instructor of the Sharp Knife Company and still survived and won 3 first-class merits. Her determination and perseverance were absolutely top-notch, and she had shed much more blood and sweat than men. How was she injured? Wan Chichi asked with concern. She suffered too many injuries, causing serious damage to her body. She is no longer suitable for carrying out missions, so we forced her to come to school to recuperate.
Pei Yuan said with pity.
Sheng Guanqingnian is not very old, only 24 years old, but she has countless wounds on her body. What is more respectable is that this girl is the descendant of a martyr. When her parents died, she was still an infant. She was adopted by Jiang Liming of the Yangcheng military region. Although they are not biological children, the father and daughter have a very good relationship. It was Jiang Liming who gave the order to let Sheng Guanqing go to school this time, and he even called Sheng Guanqing personally to persuade her. This girl was very stubborn and would not even listen to the commander's words. She only listened to her adoptive father. Wan Chichi's respect deepened. There were a lot of Ganoderma lucidum powder, Dendrobium powder, and Cordyceps sinensis in the space pharmacy. They were all good tonic things. She would give them to Sheng Guanqing later to see if they could help him get better. How could an eagle that is used to flying high in the sky be willing to stay on the ground? Sheng Guanqing must want to return to the Spearhead Company and continue to carry out his mission. Master Lu didn't tell his superiors? Pei Yuan suddenly asked, his eyes meaningful. No, the little devil is very stubborn. You can torture him with the Qing dynasty torture. Wan Chichi denied it without changing his expression. You didn't torture them? Pei Yuan obviously didn't believe it. He also suspected that Wan Chichi was planning another big move, and he didn't know what kind of trouble it would cause. Of course not. There are too many people on the mountain, and it's hard to tell how I can torture him. You and Xiao Chao should deal with the little devils well. You must find out his superiors. Wan Chichi's expression was very sincere, and Pei Yuan was a little shaken. Could it be that this girl really didn't use torture?
Gone.
Wan Chichi waved and left. Pei Yuan felt vaguely uneasy and dialed the number of the pastry shop above. Keep an eye on the flower and let me know if anything unusual happens. What is she going to do now? Ding Yi became interested. Last time they went to dig graves. What were they going to do this time? That's why I asked you to keep an eye on her, because I didn't know. Don't let her find out. Don't worry, I'm second to none in marking people. No one dares to claim first place. Ding Yi was very arrogant, but he had the capital to be arrogant, because he was the only one with the special ability of speed in Tanjo 759, and no one was more suitable for surveillance than him. Wan Qiqi walked slowly, and when she passed the interrogation room, she heard Zheng Jingyun's resentful curse. Wan Qiqi, you don't keep your word, you will die a miserable death. She sneered disapprovingly and walked away nonchalantly. Once betrayed, you will never be used again in your life. A traitor like Zheng Jingyun must not be treated with mercy. Just reward her with a peanut. When they arrived at the pastry shop upstairs, Wan Qiqi took a few cakes, left a bag of tea for Ding Yi, and rode back to school. Sheng Guanqing was also on the phone. She called her leader to inquire about Wan Qiqi's background, but the leader only said that she was a friend, not an enemy, and said nothing else. Sheng Guanqing probably guessed that since Wan Qiqi could control plants and the leader was still hesitating, it was most likely the legendary 759. She ran into Wan Qiqi downstairs in the dormitory.
Give.
Wan Qiqi handed her a piece of almond cake. Thanks. Sheng Guanqing took it generously, took a bite, and his eyes suddenly lit up. This cake was delicious. Where did you buy it? A friend made this. Seeing that she liked it, Wan Qiqi gave her another piece. I'll treat you to a meal next time. Sheng Guanqing loves sweets, so she wanted both cakes. Good. Wan Qiqi didn't bother to be polite with her. They ate cake while going upstairs, and neither of them mentioned Zheng Jingyun. Hey, where is Zheng Jingyun? We agreed to go to the department store together, but I don't know where she went so early in the morning. Now she is nowhere to be found. By the evening, Zheng Jingyun had not returned yet, and Li Yuqin could not help but complain. Maybe he went out to play.
Su Fang Gu Etz?
He Ihong glanced towards Wan Qiqi cautiously, then quickly looked away, afraid that Wan Qiqi would discover her. In just a few days, she had lost a lot of weight, and her spirit had also undergone a qualitative change. She no longer had the ambition and high spirits she had at the beginning of the school year. She now strongly suspects that Zheng Jingyun has been killed by Wan Qiqi. He Ihong was torn between her conscience and her desires, but ultimately her sense of justice overcame her cowardice, and she decided to go to her class teacher to report Wan Qiqi's suspicious identity and Zheng Jingyun's disappearance, which was definitely related to Wan Qiqi. She guessed that Wan Qiqi might be a hidden enemy who wanted to harm the country. Now that she knew about it, she couldn't keep it secret. He Ihong quietly left the dormitory and trotted all the way to the office building. Fortunately, the class teacher was still in the office, listening to the phone with a serious expression. I understand, I'll take care of it. Head teacher hung up the phone, looked up and saw He Ihong standing at the door. I have something important to report. He Ihong looked around and lowered her voice, appearing sneaky. You're here just in time. Go back and tell your classmates that Zheng Jingyun has been deported because she failed the political review. The phone call just now was to inform the class instructor that there were problems with Zheng Jingyun's political review, and she was not qualified to attend the Workers', Peasants' and Soldiers' University, so she was sent back. Teacher, Zheng Jingyun's family failed the political review? He Ihong swallowed hard, her eyes full of disbelief. Even a 3-year-old child wouldn't believe such nonsense. Even if she was to be deported, there had to be procedures to follow. Zheng Jingyun disappeared without any warning, so there was clearly something wrong. Well, what do you want?
Class teacher asked.
Nothing. Nothing. It's just that Zheng Jingyun hasn't returned to the dormitory yet, and I'm a little worried. Now I know the reason. He Ihong quickly figured it out. The school could not be wrong, so there was definitely something wrong with Zheng Jingyun. Wan Qiqi was not an enemy, but a comrade. She left the office building, feeling heavy-hearted and a little scared. Wan Qiqi is a public servant. She is really ignorant of the importance of a person. God bless her, and hope Wan Qiqi doesn't bear a grudge against her. He Ihong returned to the dormitory in fear and told her about Zheng Jingyun. No wonder I haven't seen her for a day. She must have been sent back. Li Yuqin suddenly realized something, but then she felt something was wrong and shouted, "Why doesn't Zheng Jingyun want her luggage? Maybe he left in a hurry." Su Erfeng squeezed her eyes hard at her. Something must have happened to Zheng Jingyun. Deportation was just an external statement. In fact, Zheng Jingyun might have been locked up. Ordinary people like them had no right to get involved in such matters. It was best to pretend to be deaf and dumb. Li Yuqin received it and reacted quickly. She changed the topic and didn't mention Zheng Jingyun again. It was late at night, and everyone in the dormitory was asleep. A dark shadow walked out of the dormitory building. It was Ruan Qiqi. Ding Yi, who was dozing off in the dark, immediately perked up when he saw her and followed her quietly. However, he almost bumped into another person. Before he could react, he was hit on the forehead with a wooden stick. It was Shangguan Qing. Shangguan Qing looked at him coldly and slowly pressed down the hand that was holding the trigger. "We are one family. I am sending a cake to Ruan Qiqi." Ding Yi pulled out a packaged cake from his clothes like a magician, and he planned to have it as a midnight snack. Smelling the familiar sweet fragrance, Shangguan Qing's doubts disappeared, and he even confiscated the cake, using a very legitimate reason. "I'm going to check if the cake is poisonous." Then, the whole cake went into her stomach, and she concluded very seriously, "It's not poisonous." Ding Yi twitched his lips speechlessly and did not expose her. However, the single-person trip turned into a pair, and the two of them followed Ruan Qiqi to the mental hospital. Ruan Qiqi stopped in front of a ginkgo tree and asked about Dr. Song's office. Dr. Song was on night shift this week and lived in the office on the 4th floor. Ruan Qiqi did not go directly to see Dr. Song, but went to find a new recruit. This little brother loves to hide things. He was still looking for a place to hide in the middle of the night. Following Ruan Qiqi's instructions, the night wanderer excitedly went to find Dr. Song and angrily complained, "Huang Momu is making a fuss, insisting that I stole his whip." "What nonsense! I only wanted to steal Dr. Song's whip. His is so ugly that I don't like it." The night wanderer dragged the reluctant Dr. Song to the ward to seek justice for him. Dr. Song did not suspect anything until he pushed the door of the ward. However, as soon as he opened the door, he keenly sensed something unusual. He pushed the night wanderer away and reached into his pocket for the wooden bin. The bone whip came over, and with a snap, the wrist bone broke. The wooden warehouse fell to the ground and was swept away by the bone whip. A few more whips followed, and within a few seconds, Dr. Song was knocked to the ground. The patients, who had been waiting impatiently, rushed over happily and sat on Dr. Song, pressing down on as many as 10 people. Comparable to 100,000 mountains. The third update is finished. I just arrived in Shangrao today. The last time I went to Nanchang, I had diarrhea because of the spicy food. This time I brought enough stomach medicine so I can eat as much as I want.
Istrongli recommande Jiangxi cuisine.
No wonder there are Jiangxi stir-fries everywhere in Zhejiang. There is nothing wrong with it except the spiciness. "Let me go, I'm Dr. Song. Do you want to give me an electric shock?" Dr. Song yelled angrily and threatened with electric shock. The patients in the mental hospital are most afraid of electric shock. Dr. Song's threat worked, and several of the patients on top of him wanted to get up. "Be good and bring my things over to me, or I won't shock you otherwise." Dr. Song's voice was full of coaxing and threats. The patients watching nearby all looked at the wooden bin on the ground, and some even raised their feet. "You're so stupid. You were so obedient before, and he gave you electric shocks a lot. He was just trying to coax you. Even a 3-year-old wouldn't be fooled." Ruan Qiqi's tone was full of disgust, but the effect was very good. Every patient shuddered subconsciously, remembering the pain of electric shock, which was deeply engraved in their minds. The doctor who loved electric shock the most in the mental hospital was Dr.
Song.
Almost every patient he treated was given electric shocks because they were disobedient. "I'm 8 years old. I won't believe you. You wicked jerk. You shocked me 3 times. Duck you, you electrocute me. I'll stab you to death." The patients became angrier and angrier as they cursed, and they surrounded Dr. Song, punching and kicking him to vent their anger. Disliking Dr. Song's noise, Ruan Qiqi removed his jaw and leaned against the wall to admire the misery of the Japanese devils. "Don't beat him to death. Don't pull out your tongue. Don't poke your eyes out. I'm still here. Go inside and do it." Ruan Qiqi reminded loudly that she didn't want to watch the Japanese devils' live love show at all. It was an eyesore.
He.
There were several men, women, old and young, who had suffered from drought for a long time, and they looked at Dr. Song with eyes full of love, which made Dr. Song feel creepy. Because he knew that the reason these men, women, old and young were sent here was because their desires were too strong, and their families felt it was shameful, so they sent them here and locked them up. If he fell into the hands of these crazy people, he would definitely die of exhaustion and die in an undignified way. Whoa. Dr. Song struggled desperately, but he was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. He was no match for a few people who had been lonely for too long. Soon, he was dragged into the next room. Other patients were considerate enough to close the door for them, but left a half-meter-wide gap. I still have use for this person. Don't kill him. Yuan Qiqi stood at the door and gave instructions.
No.
As soon as he finished speaking, there was the sound of cloth tearing, Dr. Song's wailing, and the patients playing finger-guessing games. There are too many monks and too little porridge, so they can only decide by playing finger-guessing games. Everyone is still very reasonable. I'm number one, ha 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 ha. I've been craving Dr. Song for a long time. It's so fresh and tender. A male patient in his 30s shouted with joy and rushed over. The entrance was full of patients, all watching with great interest. Yuan Qiqi called her younger brother Night Wanderer and asked him to keep an eye on these people and make sure that Dr. Song was not killed. Don't worry, I won't move my eyes. I will stare at them to death. The Night Wanderer patted his chest to make the promise and exaggeratedly opened his narrow eyes to show his determination. I believe you can definitely complete the task assigned to you by the organization. Yuan Qiqi patted him on the shoulder vigorously, then stuffed a handful of candies into his pocket and left the hospital. She was going to look for Manzai. Ding Yi and Shangguan Jing hid outside the window, watching the show with great interest. The Japanese had burned, killed, looted, and committed heinous atrocities against women and children in China back then. These pains should be returned to them 100-fold. Seeing Yuan Qiqi leaving, Ding Yi hesitated for 3 seconds, but still followed her. After walking a few steps, he didn't see Shangguan Jing following him, so he turned back and asked in confusion, "Why don't you follow?" "I am acting on my own. It doesn't matter whether you follow me or not." Shangguan Jing's tone was indifferent. She just wanted to watch the show now. Besides, Yuan Qiqi was so capable and had Ding Yi following her, so it didn't make much difference whether she was there or not. Ding Yi suddenly felt jealous. Why did he have to work overtime in the middle of the night, but this woman was able to watch the show and even eat his cake? He was so angry. Although he was indignant, Ding Yi still followed Yuan Qiqi, leaving Shangguan Jing to continue watching the show. Yuan Qiqi went to the Liu family. Manzai lived on the second floor. She asked the wudong tree to knock on the window of Manzai's room a few times. Soon the window opened. Manzai stuck his head out and saw her. He was so surprised that he wanted to shout, "Hush!" Yuan Qiqi put her hand to her mouth and gestured to him to go downstairs. Manzai covered his mouth obediently. A few minutes later, he came out with his school bag on his back. Mama Zheng followed closely behind him, shaking her head happily at Yuan Qiqi, her tail almost swinging out of focus. "Let's go. There's fun to do, bring your toys." Yuan Qiqi sat on the bicycle, tiptoed on the ground, and tilted her head at him. Manzai's eyes lit up, and he went back to the house excitedly. After a while, he came out with a big bulging bag in his hands. The two men rode away on their bikes, and Mr. Liu and Guan Jihua appeared at the door. They looked at each other, said nothing, and went back to sleep. Yuan Qiqi and Manzai returned to the mental hospital. It took them 2 hours to go back and forth. Dr. Song was still alive, and those crazy guys showed mercy and only used 1/3 of their strength. Woo-woo. Dr. Song looked at Yuan Qiqi viciously. He was the most outstanding agent of the Kikuno family, second only to Il, and his surname was Kikuno. Even though he was just a jerk, the noble blood of the Kikuno family flowed in his body. However, he was now defiled by a group of lowly Chinese. Darn Chinese woman, she deceived him by pretending to be crazy and stupid. How hateful. Dr. Song recognized Yuan Qiqi, the patient who called him stupid yesterday. He thought he had good eyesight and had never made a mistake before, but he made a mistake with Ruan Chichi. Call your mom. Are you in pain everywhere? Do you feel like you were run over by a truck? Are your legs weak and languid? TSK, that's not right. How can there not be a charming look at the corners of your eyes? You're not qualified. Ruan Chichi looked down at him with a critical look. She sized him up for 3 minutes and finally gave him a bad review. She had read was described so beautifully afterwards that it made her heart beat fast and her hormones surge. She really wanted to fall in love. But after seeing Dr. Song, she just wanted to wash her eyes. Her hormones were so frightened that she shut herself off. If she saw him a few more times, she would probably feel physically nauseous about that kind of thing. Dr. Song gritted his teeth. The strong feeling of humiliation made him want to perform a cesarean section and use blood to clear his innocence. Although Ruan Chichi gave a bad review, she did not ask Dr. Song to do it again. She asked her subordinates to take the man to the next room and began interrogating him. Spread your legs and sit up straight. Dr. Song was in so much pain that he fell sideways after sitting on the chair. Ruan Chichi tied him to the chair with ropes and did not put any cushion under him. He just sat naked on the hard chair, which caused his wound to crack even more due to the pressure. The pain made his face pale. Ruan Chichi asked several questions, but Dr. Song refused to answer them. He looked at Ruan Chichi with contempt, which was full of provocation. It seems that you won't cry until you see the coffin. Manzi, let the little Japanese open their eyes. Ruan Chichi gave his seat to Manzai and asked him to continue the interrogation. She knew that Manzai had secretly researched a lot of dark punishments, no less than number 76 back then. Good. Manzai's eyes became brighter, brighter than the light bulb above his head. The patients all looked at the big bag in his hand with their sharp eyes. Shen Jingbing's highly sensitive intuition told them that there must be something fun in the bag. Shang Guanqing and Ding Yi each leaned on one side of the window frame, looking into the house with sharp eyes. Originally, Ding Yi was worried that Ruan Chichi would find out, but Shang Guanqing convinced him with one sentence. People have already discovered it, but they are too lazy to expose it. The first time was on the rooftop, and the second time was on the mountain. She thought she had hidden successfully, but she was discovered by Ruan Chichi both times. The rooftop was discovered. Shang Guanqing thought that her abilities had deteriorated and were not as good as before. Later, on the mountain, she saw with her own eyes that Ruan Chichi could easily control plants. She realized that it was not that she was inferior, but that Ruan Chichi's abilities were too powerful. Wherever there are plants, those plants are Ruan Chichi's spies, and she can't hide them no matter how well she hides. Ding Yi understood as soon as he heard it. The last time they went to the Grave Hill to catch eels, he and Pei Yuan had guessed Ruan Chichi's special abilities, and now they were even more certain. With such powerful abilities, it's no wonder he could jump to second place on the list. So, Ding Yi and Shang Guanqing openly leaned on the window frame to watch the show. If they didn't have some professional ethics, they would have wanted to go into the house to watch. Manzai took out strange things one by one from the big bag. The hemp rope is as thick as a thumb and so rough that it can rub off flesh. A long and thin whip with thin needles on it. The bamboo sticks neatly placed in the box are sharp and pointed. Manzai finally took out a large bottle of bright red chili powder, a basin, and a kerosene stove. You want to cook hot pot? I have some dried sweet potatoes. Would you like to share? A patient took out a handful of dried sweet potatoes from his pocket and swallowed his saliva while looking at the bottle of chili powder. The hot pot I cook is not for human consumption. Don't waste your dried sweet potatoes. Manzai smiled and refused. At this moment, his expression was grim, and the look he gave Dr. Song was colder than ice and full of deep hatred. Ruan Chichi knew that the underground worker Lu Yuanfei had appeared. The patients became even more interested. Hot pot is not for humans, so could it be for dogs? They all looked at Mama Jiang with envy in their eyes. Even the dog eats better than them. Manzi picked up the rough hemp rope, walked up to Dr. Song and asked slowly, "Do you know what this is?" Dr. Song's jaw was still open and he couldn't speak, but his body was tense and his pupils contracted. It was obvious that he had guessed the purpose of the hemp rope, because he had used this hemp rope to deal with underground workers before. and the torture instruments that Manzi took out were all those he had used before. Seeing the Chinese people being tortured by these torture instruments, Dr. Song suddenly thought of a saying, "It's not that I don't want to retaliate, it's just that the time has not come yet." This sentence is especially suitable for him now. Dr. Song was very frightened inside, but he still held on proudly and refused to admit defeat. He can't lose face for the Kikuno family. Manzi smiled slightly, asked the two patients to hold the hemp rope at both ends, passed it between Dr. Song's legs, and then asked them to lift him up. Dr. Song was already injured, and the rough hemp rope rubbed his wounds and his delicate male dignity. The pain was enough to make him go to heaven. Even the pride of the Kikuno family could not save him.
Woo.
Dr. Song whimpered in pain, his face paler than a dead person, and cold sweat instantly soaked his clothes. The two patients who were carrying him were extremely excited, and even automatically unlocked some tricks, shaking the rope at various angles. Dr. Song's pain increased at least tenfold. Painful? This is just the beginning. You used to treat me like this. We have a saying in China, give someone a taste of their own medicine. Enjoy it. Manzi's voice turned into a gentle female voice, and he looked at Dr. Song with hatred, as if he wanted to eat him. Wan Chichi was stunned for a moment, but soon realized that Manzi was now Aunt Hongyu. Aunt Hongyu, who was tortured to death by the enemy in front of him. Since there is Aunt Hongyu, there must also be Uncle Ian and Uncle Yu. Therefore, there are at least 6 personalities in Manzi's body, or possibly more. He's a female and he has a beard so cool. Patients shouted happily and looked at Manzi with admiration, because although they also had beards, they were males and could not become females, which was such a pity. Manzi smiled at them, lit the kerosene stove, filled the basin with water, and added a large bottle of chili powder. Soon, the room was filled with a pungent, spicy smell. Hit him with this. Manzi picked up the whip, put it into the hands of Night Wanderer's younger brother, and asked him to beat Dr. Song. Okay. The Night Wanderer nodded vigorously and walked towards Dr. Song excitedly. Put some more of this on. Manzi's voice changed again. It was a young and cheerful male voice. He took a brush and dipped a lot of chili water, smeared it on the whip, and then said to Dr. Song, "A little chili water will make it more flavorful and you will enjoy it more." Dr. Song gritted his teeth, the fear in his pupils almost materializing. He would rather commit seppuku than endure these tortures.
Pa.
The Night Wanderer raised the whip high and whipped it hard. The whip came into close contact with the skin, making a pleasant sound, like the sound of nature. The patients were very satisfied with what they heard, and Ding Yi and Shengwan Qing outside the window were also very satisfied. Wan Chichi took out a cake directly from her bag and started eating it with relish. It was so delicious. The only one who was dissatisfied was Dr. Song. He was in so much pain. On the whip pierced his skin, and the pepper water seeped in, causing more pain than a needle piercing his heart. He cried bitterly in pain, and his body kept twisting, but the hemp rope rubbed him violently, causing him more pain. Life is worse than death. He now finally understood the meaning of this idiom. Now, he just wanted to die peacefully, without being tortured anymore. Does it hurt? This is just an appetizer. There will be a big meal later. Don't worry. Manzi's voice changed again. Now it was a mature and steady male voice, obviously the voice of Uncle Yu, who taught him to recite poems. He picked up a sharp bamboo stick and inserted it neatly between Dr. Song's fingers.
Woo.
Dr. Song rolled his eyes in pain and fainted. Manzi smiled coldly and slowly pierced the second finger. Dr. Song woke up from the pain again. He then kept switching between fainting and waking up from the pain until all 10 fingers were pierced. Dr. Song was soaked all over, as if he had been fished out of the water. There was not a single patch of intact skin on his body, and it was covered in blood. And his male dignity was also worn out and bleeding. He slumped in the chair, barely more than a breath away from death. After Wan Chi-Chi finished the last bite of cake, she felt better. She took out a cup from her bag and drank some water. She felt more comfortable than on an outing. Shengwan Qing, who was standing outside the window, was so greedy that he couldn't stop swallowing his saliva. She poked Ding Yi, who was watching with great interest, and asked silently, "Is there any more cake?" "No more." Ding Yi hesitated for a second and denied it decisively. There was only one piece left, not enough for him to eat. As the rule, each person gets half. Shang Guanqing stretched out her hand and foot and stepped on the branch where Ding Yi was sitting. If he dared to refuse, she would immediately break the branch. Ding Yi gritted his teeth. He was not afraid of falling, but he was afraid of being seen by Wan Qiqi. It would be too embarrassing. Helplessly, he had to take out the last cake, gestured with his fingers a few times, divided it accurately into 2 halves, and shared it with Shang Guanqing. In the room stopped torturing, and Wan Qiqi closed Dr. Song's chin and said, "As long as you confess all your subordinates, I will let you go." Dr. Song raised his head weakly and smiled at her contemptuously. I won't give in. If you have the guts, kill me." Wan Qiqi frowned and then took his chin off, saying coldly, "You are quite brave, then continue to enjoy it." She winked at Manzai and continued to watch the show against the wall. The chilly water in the pot was boiling, and the spicy smell was even more choking. Manzi took out a sharp scalpel and took out a cage from his treasure bag. There were 2 fat rats in the cage. "Don't worry, you'll be able to enjoy your feast soon." Manzai's voice was very gentle. He held the scalpel and slowly slid it across Dr. Song's body, finally stopping on his thigh. "The meat here is the most abundant and tenderest. Xiaoming and Xiaoyu will definitely love it." Manzai was talking to himself, but Dr. Song felt horrified and his pupils were widened. "What are the names of Xiaoming and Xiaoxiu?" Wan Qiqi asked curiously. "Yes, doesn't it sound nice?" Manzai nodded. "That sounds good. What's the explanation?" Wan Qiqi asked humbly. Manzai loves to play house and named the dog Mom. She thought the 2 mice should be called brother or sister. Mingji and Yui. Mingji and Yuqi were mentioned. Manzai looked disgusted. Wan Qiqi gave a thumbs up. He was indeed a little genius in naming, as good as Comrade Xiao Chao's father. Dr. Song was so angry that he cried out in anger. It was outrageous that his respected Emperor Tianhuang was humiliated by the hateful Chinese. Manzai cut off a piece of meat neatly and threw it into the hot pot to cook. He cut several pieces of meat in succession. Dr. Song was in excruciating pain and went into shock several times. He was awakened by Wan Qiqi pinching her Rinzhong acupoint. Then he watched as Manzai fed the cooked meat to the mice in the cage. Xiao Ming and Xiao Yu squeaked with joy. They finished the meat slices in no time and lay comfortably in the cage, obviously full. "We'll eat him tomorrow. He's so fat, there's enough for you to eat until next year." Manzai spoke in the most gentle voice, words that frightened Dr. Song to the extreme. Wan Qiqi took out some hemostatic medicine, stopped the bleeding from his wound, and fed him something. Dr. Song closed his mouth tightly and refused to eat. He wanted to die of starvation. "Want to go on a hunger strike?" "Don't worry, you won't die." Wan Qiqi smiled and took out a bottle of glucose, a needle, and an infusion tube from her bag, which she had just picked up from the clinic. She gave Dr. Song an injection skillfully. In her previous life, she was self-taught in a mental hospital, so she basically learned everything that a nurse could do. So sometimes when the nurse was too busy, she would ask her to help. A bottle of glucose was injected. Dr. Song felt much better, but the pain in his body made him feel like dying. He didn't know what was waiting for him next. When he thought of the terrible torture instruments in Manzai's bag, he shuddered and wanted to die even more. After the infusion was completed, Wan Qiqi went to the hospital warehouse and found an abandoned cart. The wheels were not working properly, so she repaired it, lifted the bruised and battered Dr. Song onto the cart, and tied a hemp rope to it so that she and Manzi could pull it. "Boss, when will you be back?" Leaving, the patients were reluctant to go. Since Wan Qiqi came, they found that life could be so wonderful. Their previous lives were too monotonous and boring. "I'll be back when I'm free. Go back to sleep." Wan Qiqi said goodbye to them and left some candies and snacks. She and Manzi left. Lu Yi and Xingji rushed to the mental hospital. They also came to arrest Dr. Song. They captured a Japanese soldier, and under Liu Ye's unique interrogation, the Japanese soldier confessed that he was Mantis and said that he had several subordinates, and only Mantis knew the specific situation. Liu Ye rushed overexcitedly. As long as he could capture this group of Japanese devils, he would definitely be the first this year. Even Jiahua, riding the white dragon horse in Group B, could not catch up with him. However, they were a step too late, and their efforts were in vain. People from Group B have been here. Zheng Ji discovered the mark left by Wan Qiqi, which was unique to the members of Group B. Only people in Group 759 could understand this mark. Liu Yi was about to find out the news, but after hearing his words, he had to stop. Without this Mantis, I'll go catch cockroaches, or if that doesn't work, I'll just swim over and catch them. Liu Yi snorted lightly, but was not discouraged. The country is so big, it is impossible to catch all the Japanese devils. Even if he did catch them all, there is still the Sakura country. He and Wan Qiqi didn't know it and passed each other by. Wan Qiqi and Manzai separated at the foot of Yuelu Mountain. Manzai went home. She took the unconscious Dr. Song into the space and locked him in an airtight little room. Since Ding Yi and Shang Guanqing didn't catch up, she didn't have to worry about the space being exposed. After settling the Japanese devils, the sky was almost dawn. Wan Qiqi yawned and returned to the dormitory. She didn't get up in the morning and asked He Ai Hong to help her ask for leave. Just say I'm sick and take a day off. Wan Qiqi was so sleepy that she couldn't open her eyes. She spoke in a daze and then fell asleep. He Ai Hong curled her lips and complained in her heart. He is lazy and greedy, a habitual liar and cruel and ruthless. How could the government be interested in such a person? However, she only dared to keep it in her heart and did not dare to show it on her face, for fear that Wan Qiqi would put a curse on her. She couldn't afford to offend even 100 of the Gu women from Miaojiang. Wan Qiqi slept until noon, went to the cafeteria to eat, and then went up the mountain in high spirits. Manzai and Mama Jiang had already arrived. They went to the maple forest, which was the forest where Master Zhaolu and those Japanese devils lived. Wan Qiqi asked Manzai to wait outside. She went deep into the forest and released the blindfolded Dr. Song from the space. Pulling off the black cloth on his eyes, Wan Qiqi dragged him out regardless of his life or death. Manzai had already prepared the tools. The hot pot was steaming, Xiao Ming and Xiao Yu in the cage were squeaking, and He Douyin was particularly excited. The same punishment as yesterday happened again today. Dr. Song was still stubborn and refused to give in. Wan Qiqi gave him glucose as usual, then dragged him into the depths of the forest and threw him into the space. After 5 days of torture, his right leg was shaved smooth, revealing the beautiful bone. Wan Qiqi simply cut it off and went back to process it so that he could make the staff again. Do you recognize this? It's a bone from your hometown. Isn't it beautiful? And these are all from your hometown. Your bone is very beautiful and suitable for polishing. It's a pity that your skin is too rough, otherwise it could be used as a lampshade. What a pity! Wan Qiqi displayed her magic tools one by one and lit the candlesticks. The bright candlelight shone through the lampshade, becoming hazy. The bright red roses on the lampshade also became more vivid in the swaying candlelight, as if they were real. Dr. Song finally understood the message that Il had conveyed before his death.
He did not lie.
This woman was indeed a terrible pervert. It was not unfair that Il died in her hands. Wan Qiqi took out a dumbbell from the bag, which weighed 10 kilograms. In her previous life, she saw on the internet that a 10-pound dumbbell accidentally slipped into an old man's body, and the doctors were amazed. This shows how incredible the elasticity of some males is. Everything can be plugged. Do you want to experience the joy of giving birth? Come on, expand the birth canal first, I'll help you. Wan Qiqi lifted the dumbbells and gave him a wicked smile. Dr. Song's scalp tightened and his whole body went numb. The third update is finished. I will let them meet soon.
Don't worry.
Now there's a problem. After coming to Shangrao, every meal I ate a lot. The food here goes really well with rice. I even felt dizzy from drinking charcoal water. I always dozed off while typing, haha. Every word Wan Chichi said, but when they were put together, he didn't understand what they meant. However, that didn't stop him from being afraid. Wan Chichi's desires and cruelty. He could tell with his buttocks that the dumbbells this woman took out were definitely not for him to exercise. And what she said about the birth canal and childbirth also made him shudder. How could a man have a birth canal, let alone give birth to a child? Dr. Song's iron will had long been broken after 5 days of torture. He looked at Wan Chichi in fear, begging for mercy. If his jaw had not been removed, he would have definitely stopped. Rather than being tortured like this, it is better to confess some half-true and half-false information and get relief. Wan Chichi ignored his pleas for mercy, asked Manzai to help him up, applied some oil on him, and pressed the dumbbells.
Woo.
Dr. Song let out a painful wail. He finally understood what Wan Chichi said. Darn it. Follow my breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Hold on. You'll soon see the baby's head. Wan Chichi kept encouraging him like a midwife. Chichi. What came out was the baby's foot. Manzai quickly got into the role, started cooperating with the performance, and started shouting in surprise. It's a difficult birth. No, we need to expand the birth canal. Use scissors to cut it open. Wan Chichi rolled up her sleeves with a very serious expression, took the scissors handed to her by Manzai, and prepared to expand the birth canal. Dr. Song was so frightened that he shook his head vigorously, his eyes turned into pleading ones, and he confessed everything, not hiding a single word. Are you thinking of recruiting? Wan Chichi looked at him with a half-smile, the scissors in her hand still pointing at him. Dr. Song nodded vigorously, tears streaming down his face. He brought discredit to the Kikuno family. But even if the eldest son of the Kikuno family came, he could not withstand the torture of this perverted woman. It was already remarkable that he could hold on for 5 days. Dr. Song made excuses for himself, not because he was a coward, but because Wan Chichi was too abnormal. Wan Chichi closed his chin and asked, "How many people do you have under your command?" "Currently 10. Dr. Song, who was completely honest, confessed everything. Among the 10 subordinates, including the 3 of Master Lu, there were 7 left, which made exactly 8 including Dr. Song. Wan Chichi was overjoyed. If she could deal with Dr. Song's group, she would be able to surpass Tyrannosaurus and become the number 1. No, she had to get a few more and leave the Tyrannosaurus far behind. "Where is your transmitter?" Wan Chichi asked. "In my office." Dr. Song told him where he hid the radio. Wan Chichi went to the mental hospital. Manzai and Dr. Song stayed in the woods. With Boss Feng around, Dr. Song couldn't escape even if he had wings. Sure enough, she found the radio in the office, and also found a Bible that looked out of place in the bookcase. The bookcase is filled with medical books, and this Bible seems out of place. However, Dr. Song must have read the Bible so often that the edges of the book are frayed. On the contrary, the other medical books are still quite new. Wan Chichi thought of a spy drama she had watched in her previous life, in which the underground workers used the Bible to crack the code. The intelligence only needs to state which page, which line, and which word of the Bible it is on. Only insiders know how to decipher it, and even if the intelligence falls into the hands of the enemy, they cannot decipher it. Wan Chichi took the Bible and the radio and returned to the mountain. "Send this message to your superiors." Wan Chichi wrote the content to be sent on a piece of paper and asked Dr. Song to send the message.
Good.
Dr. Song looked very honest and was ready to send a message. "Don't you need to look at this?" Wan Chichi suddenly took out the Bible. Dr. Song's face changed slightly. Although he quickly returned to normal, it was too late. "Want to tip off your superiors? You still haven't behaved yourself yet, huh?" Wan Chichi whipped Dr. Song, leaving a blood mark on his face, and he was extremely frightened. Why did this woman know the Bible? Could it be that there is a spy among the higher-ups? Dr. Song finally realized that he had been hiding safely in the mental hospital for so many years without revealing any flaws. How did this female devil know that he was a mantis? Apart from the fact that there was a spy on the superior side, he couldn't think of any other reason. Dr. Song was extremely anxious and wanted to send a telegram to his superiors to alert them, but the radio was taken away by Wan Chichi. Manzai continued to expand his birth canal. Wan Chichi called out coldly. Good. Manzai pressed Dr. Song down hard, and this time it was very smooth. Dr. Song let out a low, hoarse scream, and the cold sweat on his forehead was bigger than soybeans. He bit his tongue in pain, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Very good. Wan Chichi was very satisfied and didn't care about Dr. Song's bloody wound. Please. I will send the message honestly, Dr. Song begged in a hoarse voice. His lower abdomen was now heavy, as if there was an extra 10-pound dumbbell in his stomach. He finally realized the hardships of 10 months of pregnancy. Moreover, the wound was so painful, more painful than the previous few days combined. He really couldn't bear it anymore and just wanted to die quickly. I'll send it now. If you dare to play tricks again, I still have dumbbells. Wan Chichi took out another dumbbell, which was bigger than the previous one. Dr. Song shook his head vigorously. This time, he didn't dare to play tricks again. He endured the severe pain and sent the message honestly. Wan Chichi is very powerful. My people were completely wiped out. This woman even threatened to wipe out the entire Kikuno clan. She is too arrogant. However, I have found this woman's fatal weakness. She is allergic to pollen. Please support me. Dr. Song finished sending the letter and waited quietly for a reply. Half an hour later, there was a reply. Dr. Song wrote it down, deciphered it with the Bible, and reported it to Wan Chichi. The superiors said they will send someone as soon as possible to get rid of you before the end of the year. How many people should we send? Wan Chichi was very excited. These were all human heads, and also nutrients for the trees. I didn't say, but it's definitely not less. You're already on the Kikuno family's kill list. The family will eliminate you at all costs. Dr. Song told the truth. Wan Chichi sneered disapprovingly. It would be a good opportunity for her to get killed if he came. She was more than happy to do so. Please take it out for me, please. The pain, begged humbly. Don't worry, I'll take you to the hospital. Wan Chichi originally wanted to kill this little Japanese, but she restrained herself. This mantis must know a lot, so she left it to Pei Yuan to interrogate. As for the dumbbells, she didn't have the ability to make them, so she asked Pei Yuan to do it. Seeing that Dr. Song was in excruciating pain, Wan Chichi gave him some painkillers and asked Manzai to watch over him on the mountain while she went down the mountain to call Pei Yuan. An hour later, Ding He arrived. Where's Xiao Chao? Wan Chichi couldn't help but ask. In the past, it was always Comrade Xiao Chao who came. He's on a mission. What did you give him? Ding He looked at the unrecognizable Dr. Song with curiosity. In just 5 days, the once handsome Dr. Song turned into a pile of dying rotten flesh, with almost no blood drained out. And the missing right leg shows that Dr. Song suffered inhuman torture, which is really satisfying. Ding He was very curious about what was filled to cause so much blood to flow. A 10-pound dumbbell. Ask Dr. Gong to get it out later. Every time Wan Chichi mentioned Dr. Gong, the corners of her mouth would twitch subconsciously. 759 is indeed a unit that brings together all the weird things in the world. Not only are the people weird, but even their surnames are weird. There are many unpopular surnames, and 759 has them all. Dr. Gong is the exclusive doctor for Group B. He is a man in his 40s and an old partner of Director Mu. Nowadays, people like to add old titles before their surnames, but no one calls them Dr. Gong and Director Mu in that way. After all, no one wants to call their mother or husband every day. It's too disadvantageous. Ding Yi's mouth twitched, and his admiration for Wan Chichi doubled. She is indeed a queen of flower who can compete with Tyrannosaurus Rex. The desires index of her interrogation is definitely in the top 3 out of 759. I don't know what kind of perverted ideas are in this girl's head. Only this girl can come up with the idea of stuffing dumbbells into her stomach. When I brought Dr. Song back to the bureau, Pei Yuan and Dr. Gong were already waiting there. Dr. Gong carefully examined Dr. Song's body. The more he looked, the brighter his eyes became. He muttered to himself, "Not bad, this method is quite good. It can be included in the torture manual of 759. In addition to being the exclusive doctor of Group B, Dr. Gong has another identity, which is to interrogate stubborn enemies. He also compiles various perverted interrogation methods into books and distributes them to people in the group for study. Dr. Gong thought that he was already very abnormal, but in front of Ron Chi-Chi, he still admitted defeat and hoped to learn more from her in the future. He is the mantis? Pei Yuan's eyes lit up. The importance of the mantis was second only to the eel. It had persecuted countless comrades. He didn't expect that this jerk was hiding in a mental hospital. No wonder he couldn't find it. Yes, I was the one who caught him. Ruan Chi-Chi was eager to catch the 7 Japanese devils, so she left after giving her instructions. The 7 Japanese devils were not in Tanzhou, but were scattered in other cities. Ruan Chi-Chi applied for a car and took Manzai and Mama Jiang with him. It only took them 3 days to capture the 6 Japanese devils. The reason there are 6 is because one has been exposed and arrested. Ruan Chi-Chi felt a little regretful that she could only tie with Tyrannosaurus for first place, but there were still a few months left until the end of the year, and she was confident that she would surpass him. She cut the tendons of the 6 Japanese soldiers' hands and feet and brought them back all at once. He said to Pei Yuan excitedly, "I am now tied with Tyrannosaurus for first place. I forgot to tell you that Tyrannosaurus has just captured 3 enemy spies, 3 more than you. He is still the first place, but I think you are much better than Tyrannosaurus. There are still 2 months left this year. You will definitely surpass him." Pei Yuan poured a large basin of cold water on him. Ruan Chi-Chi had been working nonstop to capture the Japanese these days, and Tyrannosaurus Rex was also not idle, firmly ranking first. However, he was very optimistic about Ruan Chi-Chi. He had caught up to the 2nd place in such a short time, and his strength was definitely stronger than that of Tyrannosaurus. When the Kakuno family arrives, I will definitely be able to surpass them. Ruan Chi-Chi was not discouraged, and was still full of confidence. The Kakuno family was determined to kill her and would definitely send a lot of people. By then, she would definitely be able to crush the little bug. I trust you. Pei Yuan was also full of confidence in her. Ruan Chi-Chi went to collect her bonus. Her recent performance has been very good, and her bonus is several thousand yuan. The 759 list looks at quantity, but the bonus looks at quality. For example, the bonus for eel is as high as 1,000 yuan, while for Zheng Jingyun it is only a few dozen yuan. Generally speaking, the bonus for catching the Japanese devils is higher, so Ruan Chi-Chi prefers to catch the Japanese devils. Among the Japanese soldiers caught this time, there was a big fish, a mantis, and a large number of other Japanese soldiers. The reward was quite high, more than 1,000 yuan. Ruan Chi-Chi was very satisfied with the prize amount, and even hoped that the Kukui family could send more people. The more the better, because that was all money. It was getting dark outside. Ruan Chi-Chi did not go back to school. Instead, she took out 10 pounds of meat and some candies and snacks from her space and rode her bike to the winery. I haven't visited Wan Shuangjiang and her 3 daughters for a long time, and I don't know how they are doing. Comrade Ruan, long time no see. She met a few familiar-looking people at the gate, who greeted her enthusiastically. I'm very busy at school, and can't spare the time. I'll come back to see my elder sister and niece today if I have time. Ruan Chi-Chi smiled and rode slowly into the factory. Everyone looked at it with envy. Such a big piece of meat must weigh at least 10 pounds. Look at the white fat. It's so tempting that everyone is drooling. Those people in the factory were talking nonsense, saying that Comrade Ruan and the eldest sister had a bad relationship. Since Ruan Shuangjiang came to work, Comrade Ruan had never come once, but the other sister came more frequently. Now it seems that they clearly have a deep sisterly relationship. If their relationship was really bad, how could she be willing to give so much meat, making them so greedy? Ruan Shuangjiang lives in a bungalow behind the factory. Although it only has 1 room, there is a large open space at the door. She cooks and does laundry outside, which saves a lot of space and is quite convenient. Your father was killed by your mother. My mother said that your family is all unlucky. Anyone who plays with you will be unlucky. An annoying child's voice came over, along with the noise of other children making fun of him. We don't want to play with you. Your whole family is short-lived. You will choke to death when eating, choke to death when drinking water, fall to death when walking, and be scared to death when sleeping due to nightmares. Tomorrow you will eat your mother's tofu rice. Ruan Yen's clear voice rang out. The little girl had just celebrated her 5th birthday last month, and she was much more fluent in cursing. Eat tofu rice. Ruan Pan agreed in a baby voice. She was her sister's most loyal supporting actor. If you dare to curse my mother, I will beat you to death. First broke down and rushed over to teach Ruan Yen a lesson. Come on, am I afraid of you? Facing a girl older than himself, Ruan Yen was not afraid at all. The two of them wrestled with each other. At first, the older girl had the upper hand, but after a few minutes, Ruan Yen subdued her. His small body was full of great strength. He rode on the girl and beat her with his little fists. Your mother is a short-lived ghost. Tomorrow you will eat your mother's tofu rice and follow my recitation. Suppressed girl was about 7 or 8 years old. She kept her mouth shut and refused to say anything bad about her mother and father. Will you tell me? Ruan Yen punched hard several times, and his hands turned red. Sister, this. Ruan Pan ran over staggeringly, holding half a brick. She felt sorry for her sister's hand, so she thought it wouldn't hurt if she hit her sister with the brick.
Good.
Ruan Yen touched his sister's face with praise, then grabbed a brick and smashed it on the girl's head, causing her head to break and bleed all over her face. Yang Lingling is dead. Wow. Yang Lingling was beaten to death by Ruan Yen. Her head was smashed. The children who were watching were so scared that they cried loudly. A few smart ones wanted to find adults to seek justice. Not dead. Still breathing. The 2-year-old Ruan Pan squatted down calmly, stretched out his little paw, put it under the girl's nose, and cried in a baby voice, looking at these older children with contempt. My second aunt said that as long as no one is killed in a fight, there is no need to panic. These brothers and sisters are so lame. If anyone dares to say bad things about my mother again, I will punch him. Ruan Yen stood up, raised his fist, and demonstrated in a bandit-like manner. My second aunt said that we can't always fight, but once we do, we must kill one person to serve as a warning to the rest and scare those jerks to death. Ruan Chichi, who was hiding in the corner, raised her lips with satisfaction. The 2 little girls performed very well and could get 95 points. What's wrong? Ruan Chichi walked out and pretended to know nothing. Second aunt, you are a bad person. Ruan Pan pointed at the girl crying on the ground and complained. Second aunt, she said something bad about my mom. I gave her a lesson, no one died. Ruan Yen explained loudly that she did not hit anyone for no reason, and those she hit were those who deserved to be beaten. She beat someone to death. Yang Lingling let her beat him to death. The other children all complained, hoping that Ruan Chichi could uphold justice and give the Ruan Yen sisters a severe lesson. Ruan Chichi squatted down to check the girl's wound and soon felt relieved. After all, Ruan Yen was only 5 years old and had limited strength. The wound was not too deep. It just looked scary. Does it hurt? Ruan Chichi asked gently. The girl nodded. It hurts so much. She pointed at Ruan Yen and said, She hit me. It's a good beating. Who told you to talk nonsense? The main responsibility for this matter lies with your mother. Your mother talked nonsense and didn't know how to educate her children. That's why you got beaten. Go home and scold your mother. Ruan Chichi's voice was extremely gentle, even gentler than that of a kindergarten teacher, but her words were more sharp than an ice knife in December. Broke her head was stunned for a long time, staring at Ruan Chichi, and finally confirmed that this beautiful aunt said this. She suddenly felt very aggrieved and cried loudly with her mouth wide open. Her head has been broken. Why are you still scolding her? Ruan Yen's second concubine is so bad. The other children were also stunned, their eyes unable to believe it. When something like this happens, don't adults teach the child who hit others a lesson? Why did Ruan Yen's second aunt teach the child who was beaten a lesson? That's too bad. I'll beat you if you cry again. Ruan Chichi's head ached from the crying, and she roared fiercely. The girl was so scared that she closed her mouth and let out a sobbing sound of grievance. Get up and go to the infirmary. Ruan Chichi was about to take her to the infirmary to treat her wounds, and the girl got up obediently. "Whoever bullies my Lingling, I will kill him." There was a roar from the ground, and the sound came before the person arrived. Yang Lingling's eyes lit up and she cried and threw herself into her mother's arms. "Mom, they bullied me, woo-woo." Yang Lingling was crying her heart out, and with the blood on her face, she looked really pitiful. "You are such a jerk. I'm going to kill you. You are a motherless jerk." Yang's mother had a face full of flesh and was swearing all the time, even to the children. She didn't see Ruan Chichi and was cursing at Ruan Yan and her sister and trying to teach them a lesson. "Who do you want to kill? Do you think I'm dead?" Ruan Shuangjiang rushed over without even taking off her apron. She was working in the packaging workshop. She heard that the eldest daughter had beaten He Fenghua's daughter and her head was broken. She knew something was wrong and hurried over to help. Ruan Shuangjiang was extremely anxious and did not see Ruan Chichi. She rushed to her daughter, like an old hen, and confronted He Fenghua. Although Ruan Shuangjiang is tall, He Fenghua is twice as wide as her. She is a well-known shrew in the winery. She is good at throwing tantrums and making trouble. Even the factory director is afraid of her. The mother is always ready, and the daughter she gave birth to is a bandit, a bunch of bandits. He Fenghua glared at Ruan Shuangjiang fiercely, wishing she could eat her. Ruan Shuangjiang lived next door to her house. Ever since this easy Wumati widow came, her husband had lost his mind and wished he could stick his eyes on this easy woman. The lazy man who used to not even help pick up a fallen soy sauce bottle at home, now actually took the initiative to help Ruan Shuangjiang fetch water. Even though Ruan Shuangjiang refused, He Fenghua was still angry. She couldn't do anything about her husband, so she hated Ruan Shuangjiang and her two daughters. She spread rumors in the factory every day, saying that Ruan Shuangjiang and her two daughters were unlucky and had killed her husband's family. Anyone who had anything to do with them would be unlucky. She also said that Ruan Shuangjiang would get excited when she saw a man. Although everyone knew that He Fenghua was talking nonsense, Ruan Shuangjiang didn't talk much to the man and lived her own life behind closed doors. How could she be a fickle person? But there are always some mean people who are afraid that the world will not be in chaos. Even though they know that He Fenghua is spreading rumors, they still join in the fun and want to make fun of Ruan Shuangjiang. As a result, the rumor spread all over the factory in a few days. As more and more people started talking, even those who had previously thought Ruan Shuangjiang was serious began to waver and gradually distance themselves from her. Ruan Shuangjiang didn't care about these rumors, but she absolutely couldn't allow her child to be bullied. She was weak and incompetent in the past, causing her daughter to have a hard life. On the day of her divorce, she swore that she would never be an incompetent mother again. "Who did I flirt with? You are throwing mud at me without any evidence. The quotations say that we should seek truth from facts. Show me the evidence. What year, month, day, time, and place did I flirt with which man? If you can't show it, you are slandering me. I will go to Director Lin to seek justice." Ruan Shuangjiang would read quotations when she had free time. Her second sister said that only by reading more quotations can one make progress. The second sister said was indeed right. Quarreling would come in handy. "You charmed my man and flirted with him every day. He didn't even hold the soy sauce bottle at home, but ran to fetch water for you. If you didn't flirt with him, would he be so diligent?" He Fenghua became more and more angry as she cursed, and she started fighting. Ruan Shuangjiang was not to be outdone and started wrestling with her. Although she was not as strong as He Fenghua, she had been working in the countryside for many years and was quite strong. She soon gained the upper hand and slapped He Fenghua several times. "Did I ask your man to fetch water? It's none of my business if he behaves like a jerk. Take good care of your man from now on. If he behaves like a jerk in front of me again, I'll go to the Cutting Tail Society and sue him for hooliganism. And you stinky mouth, if you make up rumors about me again, I'll pour shoot into your mouth." Ruan Shuangjiang was also very angry. He Fenghua's man was ugly and very confident. He always came to her to act coquettishly and said some words that deserved a beating. She regretted that she was too weak in the past. She should have slapped this despicable man when he harassed her for the first time. Wan Qiqi originally wanted to help, but Wan Shuangjiang was so angry that she ignored him and started to educate the Wan Yan sisters. Your performance just now is very good, but I can only give you 95 points. Do you know why you deducted 5 points? Isn't the beating hard enough? Wan Yan felt a little ashamed. She was still too soft-hearted.
Why?
Wan Pan asked, blinking her big eyes. Wan Qiqi pinched her face gently. It turned out that fat girls were easier to pinch. It was really fun. She picked up half a brick from the ground, pointed at the sharp corner, and said, although Yang Lingling is annoying, her crime does not deserve death. Just teach her a lesson. You shouldn't use such a sharp stone. It can easily kill people.
Ruan Pan nodded confusedly.
She understood that one should not hit the head with a sharp stone. Nian Nian, you hit the wrong place, too close to the temple. If it was a little off, it would have killed someone. Be more careful next time. Wan Qiqi pulled Yang Lingling over and pointed at the wound on her head while imparting her experience. Wan Yan listened very carefully and kept it in mind. Next time when you hit someone, be careful to avoid their vital parts. The onlookers originally thought that this parent was too ignorant, but when they saw it was Wan Qiqi, they immediately felt that it was natural. Moreover, they were all afraid of Wan Shuangjiang and her daughter. It turned out that two kinds of melons could not grow on the same vine. Wan Shuangjiang's family was crazy. Even the 4 or